Ichiro may be baseball's most fascinating player, but Oakland is Miggy's town. He's the reigning MVP. And tonight, Keith Jackson returns to the baseball diamond. Coming up next. With all parts working at full throttle, the Seattle Mariners are not only atop the American League West, they're on top of the baseball world. Below them loom the Oakland A's, biting at the MCUs. They're led by their young spark plug, who is lighting it up at the plate.
Burns has done it again!
Tonight, these Western rivals collide on the diamond, while a legendary voice from many classic fall moments joins us in the booth.
Hit high in the air to left field, going to the corner, Yastrzemski. That's a home run for Bucky Dent.
Can the A's gain some crucial ground on the M's, or will Seattle continue to distance itself? Find out next on Wednesday Night Baseball.
Here's the payoff pitch. Yes, they did. There it goes. It's out of here.
3-2 to bat. Knock him out.
The 0-1 pitch. Swings and there it is. A line
He did it. He did it. Henry
From the East Bay in Northern California, Wednesday Night Baseball brings you the Seattle Mariners and the Oakland A's. They look ready for a dogfight inside the West this summer. They have traded the division flag over the last 2 years, and they're at it again. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Network Associates Coliseum in Oakland. I'm Dave O'Brien. Great to have you along with us on Wednesday Night Baseball. And perhaps as a prelude to what will happen later on this summer, these two teams played 11 tough innings last night, pulled out by the A's in the end 3-2 over Seattle. Joined by Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. And Joe, when you look at Seattle and how balanced they are, well, it's no doubt it's going to be tough to knock off that Seattle ball club in the West.
Well, you're right, and Seattle gets it done the old-fashioned way with great pitching and great defense. This could be the best defensive team in all of baseball, and especially the right side when John Olerud's in there and the outfield, almost a perfect defensive unit, and they are very aggressive on the bases. Who's the big guy over here?
The big guy over here, I don't know how he coaxed him out of that beautiful house of his on the Pacific Ocean, but he's a man who needs no introduction. Keith Jackson, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. Nice to be with Joe. I've enjoyed you guys. I've been listening to you all along, and you're right. It was hard to leave the front porch.
Well, you only leave for the big series, and for July, for Seattle and Oakland, this is a big series.
Well, this is a big month, I think, more for Oakland than maybe even Seattle, because they play the leading team in the division 6 times, and then they get Anaheim 7 times. So they can put a little hay in the barn, if you'll pardon the expression.
I think we'll have a lot more of those expressions tonight. We're looking forward to those. The great Keith Jackson is with us as part of our Living Legends series. Tonight, it's a series with a long-term impact. The front-running Mariners, they won the division 2 years ago against the A's. They're looking to make a run at them on Wednesday Night Baseball from Oakland, California. Come on back with us. Joe Morgan has told me for years the East Bay is the best bay.
Correct.
And that's where we are tonight, Wednesday Night Baseball, and delighted to have with us one of the great voices of sport, Keith Jackson, for all 9 innings, and who knows, maybe more, the way these two teams play. The beloved voice of college football, also the very first voice of ABC's Monday Night Football, and along with all of that, on a Hall of Fame resume, many major events with Howard Cosell, and he has learned to tell the tale. And Keith Jackson is here tonight, broadcasting baseball. Going to get some play-by-play out of Keith as well. Born and raised near the Georgia-Alabama state line. And here in Oakland tonight, as we look at the starting lineup for the Seattle Mariners last night, the start of the second half, game number 82 for these two clubs, and Ichiro starts it hitting .342. Randy Wynn right behind him, and with Mike Cameron in center, essentially they have, Joe Morgan, 3 center fielders in the same outfield.
Well, this is an excellent defense, as we said before, but this is a good offense too. They run the bases well, they're aggressive, and they're just they put a lot of pressure on the hitters. They're a little different from Oakland. They're not up there taking a lot of walk, but they put a lot of pressure on them. And here's Lilly. I mean, he's been in and out. He's pitched some very good ball games for the Oakland A's, but he has not been as consistent as they thought he would be when they brought him over in the trade with the Yankees.
Oh, he is 0-3 lifetime against Seattle with an ERA near 6.5. Defensively now for the Oakland A's, it's Burns in center field. He's been the guy lighting their fire. Dye over in right field. Joe, he's really been bothered by a knee problem. Last night had a big sacrifice fly.
Well, he's had his knee drained a couple of times, and it really bothers him when he tries to drive the ball. But Eric Burns is the story, as you said. And not only that, he's taken over in center field. You know, Burns started in left field, but now he's playing center field, and Singleton is kind of the odd man out. But Burns has done it more with his bat than anything else.
And as Burns laces up that spike, we can tell you that the Sun field is most definitely right field with a good hunk of center as well. So anything hit in the air in the first hour or so of this ball game could be deadly for the outfielders and down that right field line. So set for baseball. Two teams that are going to go at it all summer long, and Ichiro digs in. 2 for 4 in game 2 of the series last night. And Randy went right after him. The first pitch by Lilly is in there for a strike. And Keith Jackson, this is your first baseball broadcast since what, 1986?
1986, yes. The Mets and Astros in the Dome in LCS.
Pretty good one. They're still playing that game, aren't they?
Yeah, it took forever to finish it. We ran out of water and food.
16 innings, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, these two clubs might go at it that long tonight. 11 innings yesterday. As Oakland won the ball game 3-2.
But how exciting is this guy, huh?
Oh, he's absolutely, I think, the most fascinating player in the game.
Yeah, he's probably the most exciting player. I mean, you know what I think about when I watch him? I think about what he has, and that's a great baseball instincts, whether it's in the batter's box or in the outfield.
Line drive, that's a base hit. Scorched over Tejada. And Ichiro will be content with a base hit, but he's at it again. He's on a 230 hit pace.
Well, it's interesting to me. They've tried a lot of different approaches to pitching to Ichiro, and he adjusts to everything. This is a fastball down and in. Look at that. Pretty much a one-handed swing. Watch, the top hand is already gone, and he just kind of slices it over the glove of Tejada.
Well, 21 stolen bases, second in the American League, and immediately gets a lead with Randy Wynn in the batter's box.
Well, right out of the box, he's able to disrupt the concentration of the starting pitcher who's struggling.
This is a guy who has given up 17 home runs. He needs all the concentration he can get.
Plus, he's not a guy that can hold him at first base if Ichiro decides to take off. He's allowed 13 stolen bases this year, and that's a lot for a left-handed pitcher, because left-handers, of course, are able to hold left base runners closer normally than right-handers are.
Well, he has been a chilly win as of late. Randy pops that one back out of play since July 11th. And on July 11th, he was hitting .295. Since then, he has just 7 hits.
And so that thing coming back here got bigger and bigger and bigger. You know?
And the one thing to remember, if it comes in the booth, you're on your own.
I hear you. I'm under the bench.
Keith, you're the big guy in this trio now. We're looking for a little help here tonight between Joe and I. Ichiro with a short lead at first base, and Lilly from the stretch. This is outside. Now he is coming off a 6-0 loss to the other Bay Area contender, the Giants, on Friday night. He began the season with a string of pretty respectable outings. In fact, he was 3-4 at one point with an ERA of 3.93. Now, you got to help me with the pronunciation of this. Is that Lomita, California?
Yes.
I know you know your California better than anybody. Inside for a ball with an 89-mile-an-hour fastball.
I got 14 maps in my car, I'll tell you that.
Now, Keith Jackson inducted into both the Sportscasters Association Hall of Fame and the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Down low for ball 4, and Randy Wynn is on, so the first 2 men are on board. Of course, Keith Jackson, as well as being the beloved voice of college football. I mean, you did a lot of Monday night baseball and some big games over the years, too.
I did. There's a couple of them I want to bring up later on tonight as the story evolves here at the ballpark. But Joe got to watch one of my most exciting moments sitting on second base one night in St. Louis. But it was a particularly, I thought, one of the most dramatic 45 minutes I've ever seen in baseball.
It didn't involve Al Roboski, did it?
Yes, it did. Mad Hungary.
And there for a strike on Brett Boone, having quite a year at 312, 22 homers, and 67 runs batted in.
Now Lilly is going ahead and with the high leg kick. He went to the slide step with Ichiro at first base, which also may have caused him to miss a lot of pitches.
Wrapped left over third. That's going to drop in along the line. Here comes Suzuki. He can crawl on in. Wynn runs very well. He puts on the brakes at third, and in his second with a run-scoring double. Brett Boone, that's RBI number 68. And is he having himself a year? This pace, he's going to drive in about 130 runs.
Well, the one problem Lilly has is when he gets the ball up against right-handed hitters, they drive the ball. This pitch is up, and Boone rips it down the left field line. When you talk about Boone, I mean, he has been real solid for the Seattle Mariners ever since he went to the American League. He's been driving in runs and getting the job done.
Was there? Did you see him coming, Joe, as a power hitter?
No, I didn't. And that's a good point. I'll tell you, I asked him about that 2 weeks ago. I talked to him in Seattle.
Edgar Martinez, the DH, takes a strike.
But he just said that all of a sudden he cut down on his swing. And when he went to the American League, everything just kind of fell into place because he had actually struggled the last 2 years in the National League before he went over to the Mariners.
Boone, along with this guy, Martinez, and Mike Cameron, all on a pace to drive in 100 runs for Seattle.
Not bad for a guy that owns an embroidery business.
An embroidery business.
Yeah, in Seattle.
Yeah, very successful.
Yeah, very successful. He and his wife runs it, but
I was about to say, yeah, there has to be a female touch somewhere in there.
Edgar deserves a good commercial. I mean, what he's done for this franchise. Look at this.
Right on the button, but no double play as Boone scurries back. But Martinez hit it sharply for the first out in the inning. Runners at second and third, however, and a run in for the Mariners before Mike Cameron steps up.
The batter, number 44, Mike Cameron.
So Edgar's thinking about a line shot to Tejada or beyond, and Tejada has been a marked man early in this game. Mike Cameron hitting .270, 12 homers, 50 runs batted in, having a very good season for himself. Lilly trying to get out of the inning without too much more damage. Almost threw that one away off the glove of Hernandez for ball one.
There are two pitchers in this lineup, and I have not seen Oakland as much as I have Seattle because of proximity to where we live in the summertime. But I would think these 4, 5, 6 guys on the roster for Oakland, they either got to produce or they're going to be moved around someplace.
And that's a very good point. Everyone talks about the big three in Oakland, but you don't win with just 3 pitchers anymore.
On the looping line drive, that'll settle down in front of Singleton. Here comes Randy Wynn, and the brakes are on Boone as he is pulled up over there by Dave Myers, the third base coach. And we thought Boone might take a shot at scoring there, but another run in. And they're trying to build an even bigger inning now. Runners at first and third, and just one out.
Well, this is kind of a long single. The ball's in the air quite a way, but Boone gets a pretty good jump on it, and he probably had a chance to score, but he gets a good jump, and he cuts it pretty sharply there at third base. I mean, I think he would have been able to score had they let him go, but this early in the ball game, they're trying to take their hacks.
That's the third hit in the inning, but the fourth ball that has been hit right on the nose, including Martinez line drive out. And here's Colbrin. That one off the glove of Hernandez, and the runner will move up. Cameron is flying into second. So far a disastrous inning for Lilly.
Well, it's interesting, you know, that a guy that's a control pitcher to miss by this much. Watch. I mean, that ball never started toward the plate unless it slipped out of his hand. But there you see one of the reasons that he has had problems.
That's a pass ball on Hernandez.
Well, that's unusual. The guy didn't come close to the plate.
Big swing and a miss by Colbrin. He's hitting .292 coming in.
That's the best pitch he's thrown.
Good point. That was very good.
A base hit will score 2. A big ballpark here in Oakland, so plenty of room for Colbrin. It's essentially a pull hitter, and he was trying to pull that one out of the ballpark. They count 1 and 2. We're talking about, Keith, the starting rotation. Everybody knows Mulder, Zito, and Hudson, how good they are. Beyond that, fairly mediocre, though.
Well, Harang had a pretty good outing in the last time, lost the ball game, but he did well. He pitched well. Colbrin, incidentally, had a home run in that ball game. That was the insurance run. Took away some of the drama. But Lilly is the man who's really been in the spot this season. That's good pitch.
And he strikes out Copeland looking.
Well, he got him on a backdoor breaking ball. He started off the plate outside and broke back over. And watch where this pitch starts. They're set up inside, but it starts way off the plate outside and breaks over the outside corner.
I don't know. Is it just my imagination, Joe? Has the old big jug sort of gone away?
Yes, it has gone away. Good point. I mean, that's one of the things that I think if you have a good curveball, you can always keep the hitter off balance because it can fool you two ways. One, the speed of the curveball, the other with the break. But most people throw the slider now because it's easier to control. They can't control the curveball as well, so they go to the slider. But the slider is also easier to hit.
The shortstop, Willie Bloomquist, takes one down and in for ball. Willie also mixes in an excellent changeup. And as Joe mentioned, he's not going to overpower a hitter. He's about 88 to 89 with his top-end fastball.
But the one thing you have to do if you're the Mariners, I mean, you have to take advantage of these opportunities. And they've had a big one here in the first inning.
Off the corner, he missed with that one. Bloomquist out of Bremerton, Washington. Went to Arizona State, about 5'11", 185 pounds. Had a good college career. Hasn't done a whole lot with the bat this year, batting 194. But when they brought him up for a September call-up in September last year, he was out of this world. He was 15 for 33. Pretty good audition.
He was happy tonight to get a chance to go out and play. I remember him when he played for the Sun Devils over at Arizona State, because Bremerton's up there at the top end of the Olympic Peninsula. A lot of our guys have come home to Bremerton from the Iraq circumstance, aircraft carrier. So the plate's still jumping for young Ted Lilly, huh?
One ball for his second walk of the inning. Seattle and Oakland expected to fight it out as the A's bring out their pitching coach Rick Peterson. There you see the Mariners with a 6-game lead over Oakland. And the Angels, they are 1 game over 500, but further and further off in the distance at 11.5 out.
And in the past, the wild card has come from the American League East. That may not be the case this year. I mean, the American League West. That may not be the case this year. Boston's playing well, Toronto, and New York.
Well, the reason is obvious here. I'm sure the information's been passed on to Ted, you know, get him out or go sit down. He's thrown 25 pitches in the inning, and he's down in the ball game, and one more base hit. He's really in a hole. I mean, the A's are in a hole.
But the good thing is if he can make one good pitch to get out of this inning, I mean, a 2-0 deficit is not that big a deal.
Nope.
But the bases are jammed here for Cirillo, who is a rather desperate hitter these days. He's batting .230, a couple of homers, 21 RBIs, and got a little colorful the other day when he got tossed, huh?
When he was thrown called out for dodging the tag going down first base, he went back in the clubhouse after they threw him out of the ball game for yelling at the umpire, and he was so damn mad he cut off his chin whiskers.
He shaved his goatee, that's right. He's going to try and change his luck a little bit here. So I don't know how that plays at home, but he's clean shaven. 1 ball and 1 strike on Cirillo. He needs a little luck.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I was watching that game, and I didn't think he did anything to get thrown out of the game for. He kind of threw his helmet back, but he didn't slam it. He didn't do anything. I was shocked, and he was shocked. That's why he kind of was upset when he was thrown out.
Sawed off there and loops a foul off to the right. Let's go back to that play on Monday. Now, he was called out for running outside the base path there. He says that never happens. And it was actually overturned. And then he was called out for running outside the base path. Home plate umpire tossed him.
Well, then he was upset. But I really didn't think he did enough to get thrown out before that. He actually just went into the dugout.
And he went and got the razor. Soft line drive on 1 bounce to Tejada. He's going to go to first. Close. Got him. Whoa. That could have been even worse. So nothing going right for Cirillo these days. Tejada just nipped it. It's 2-0 Seattle. Wednesday night baseball here in Oakland, California. Keith Jackson, Joe Morgan, Dave O'Brien with you. It is 2-0 as the Seattle Mariners strike quickly, and they have Joel Pinheiro on the mound tonight. And they have Eric Burns leading things off. What a year he's having. He's always been an overachiever. He's doing it again. One of the top hitters in the American League. Tejada heating up. He's hit 15 home runs. Jermaine Dye is back in the lineup. Frank Menachino at third base, as Eric Chavez, their Gold Glove third baseman, is out after fouling a pitch off his foot last night. Pinheiro is 8-5, Joe Morgan, with a 3.67 ERA.
And he is very tough on right-handed hitters. He has all the pitches, and he's not afraid to throw any of them in any account.
He's had a lot of first inning trouble throughout the season. He's gunning for his 4th consecutive victory, coming off one of his best efforts as a major leaguer, an 8-2 win over San Diego. He had a no-hitter into the 5th, and he allowed just 4 hits in 7 2/3 innings. Burns at 328. He was 0 for 5 last night in the Oakland victory. In there for a call strike. Burns hit for the cycle, though, on Sunday in a game against San Francisco. The 16th Athletic ever to do that. He had 12 total bases in the game.
But what he's done in the batting order is sort of upset the ordinary as far as the A's are concerned. There's some guys sitting on the bench that are grumbling, but they can't get him out. So there he plays.
Well, the last couple of years, he spent most of the time in that old Pacific Coast League that you used to call home.
Sacramento, what they call them, River Cats?
Yeah. River Cats. This is a guy who, coming from his minor league days, even before that, has always overachieved a bit. He walked on at UCLA on the baseball team. Played high school ball near Oakland. And he takes ball 4. Played at Mountain View High, so he has a lot of friends and family here tonight. And he's aboard. Now, defensively, you're probably looking at the best group in the American League and probably in baseball. Wynn Cameron and Ichiro left to right, Joe, and on the infield, well, they don't have John Olerud in there because he's nursing a hamstring injury. It's Coburn at first tonight.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they have a makeshift infield tonight. Guillen is usually the shortstop instead of Bloomquist. But when they have their #1 team in there, it is the best defensive team in the game.
They're on a pace to make something like 55, 56 errors over the whole year.
That will win some games for you.
And that's how they won a lot of ball games.
Scott Hatterberg checking in at 269. He looks at a strike. 1 ball, 1 strikeout. Him. Tejada up next.
It's a Cougar. The other Cougar involved in the game tonight, Johnny Olerud, not playing. Bad hamstring. It's nagging at him.
And they even pinch hit for him last night, which shocked me. And then I talked to him today and found out that they did because of the hamstring. And Coburn hit the home run you mentioned.
Yep.
And Coburn is not from Washington. But Scott Hatterberg is. 6 home runs for him. There's a guy who's starting to heat up as well. 2 for 5 yesterday.
He gets his cuts cut, does he? He's got some authority, some pop.
6 home runs so far. Flies that one deep to left, but backing up Wynn. Plenty of room out there. It's 367 out to that alley. And so Hatterberg makes the out. Joe Morgan, Dave O'Brien, and Keith Jackson. And Keith, when you come back and do a baseball game, and I know that baseball was one of your loves, and you've done so many sports over the years. You've done essentially every sport there is. What's the toughest thing after you've had a bit of a layoff about getting back in and doing hardball again?
Remembering to mark my scorecard.
See, I have that problem every night. I don't know what you're talking about. I eat the same thing every evening.
I'm sitting here. I hadn't marked down what happened to him.
Yeah, it was F9 or F7. See, I even messed that up. It's an F7. 1 man out, Tejada.
You know, I think this guy's a heck of a ball player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just got a lot of tools. Ooh. I think he's probably going somewhere else too, isn't he?
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Which was a strange situation.
Oh yeah, they announced before the season ever started that they were not going to be able to afford Miguel Tejada, the reigning MVP.
You know, normally you say, well, we'll wait and address it at the end of the season, but they addressed it before the season, and even though he's tried to keep it out of his mind, I guarantee you that affected him at the beginning, because, you know, he probably said to himself, what more do I have to do? I was MVP last year. I've gotten better every year, and they're not going to give me a contract. So he's starting to get hot now, as you mentioned, but he is the guy that they need. I mean, in this lineup, I mean, he's the guy that produces runs right in the middle, because this is not a great offense. What they do is they use the on-base percentage to guarantee they're going to get runners on. But if you don't have anyone to drive them in, it doesn't do you any good.
Of course, he will have to hire somebody to help him count all of it next year, won't he?
Yeah, poor guy. 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Looks like it'll be done elsewhere, but I think it had to have affected him early.
Right.
When you look at his April numbers, he hit $161 in April. He is just starting to dig his way out of it. Since June 19, he's been killing the ball. But a cold start for Tejada, and he admitted it did get into his head.
And it hurt the whole team.
Right. Thank you. That's the real point, is it hurt the whole team.
Well, the A's victorious last night as Tejada takes ball 4, and they have pulled it within 6 games of Seattle in the West. First 2 men. And 2 of the first 3 have reached base against Joel Pinheiro. And that'll bring up the cleanup man, Rubio Durazo.
And you have the thing that Lilly was able to get the right pitch late in his travail of that top half of the inning, and he got out of there down by only 2, and a base hit right here. And there you go.
Number 44, Rubio.
Quick note, Rubio Durazo wanted me to say hello to his family back in Hermosillo, Mexico. They're watching the game tonight.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, the Durazo family in Mexico.
And they have the added bonus of hearing the sounds of Keith Jackson tonight. They had no idea it was going to be that great, but it is. And so a big hello from a Hall of Famer. And we get Keith in the booth for us for 9 innings tonight.
How did they get this guy, Joe?
Well, they got it from, of course, from Arizona.
Yep.
And I was wondering the same thing. He's had some injuries the last couple of years, but when he's been healthy, I mean, he's produced some numbers.
He's a horse.
Yeah.
284 with 9 homers as he looks at a strike. He has the best on-base percentage of any of the Oakland A's. And you know how much Billy Beane loves on-base percentage, but as a club, their on-base is just .330. That's the worst it's been since 1994.
I think part of that, Dave, is that everyone knows what they're doing. They're taking pitches now. They used to. So pitchers are making sure they throw strike 1 in most cases against them.
Takes a whale of a swing, pops it up, and there's Wynn creeping toward the line for the second out.
If the pitchers know that you're not going to attack the first pitch, they're going to throw strikes. I mean, that's just the way it is. They can get away with just throwing a mediocre fastball for a strike. And that, if you look at Scott Hatteberg, I mean, he never swings at the first pitch. I mean, very rarely will he swing at the first pitch. So, I mean, everyone knows Oakland's philosophy, and they're all trying to, beat that philosophy. And that's what has happened to them in the postseason. The good teams do not walk a lot of hitters in the postseason.
Well, 2 on for Ken Macha's club. And the batter, Ramon Hernandez, hitting .272. He's homered 10 times with 35 runs batted in. And trying to get the A's on the board here against Joel Pinheiro. He's pitching very well lately. Down and in for ball 1. 4-1 with an ERA of .262 in his last 6 starts. So this is the best stretch for Pinheiro on the year.
Keith, over the years when you were broadcasting games, were you fond of hitting, pitching, or defense? Or,
defense. I was a big fan of the defense, and I think the Dodgers in the 60s were great testimony to how you could win with pitching and defense.
Correct.
And even those hammer throwers you played with in Cincinnati had great defense, too. They were good defense.
Good defense. It's kind of interesting because, the game has kind of changed to the point where in a lot of instances it becomes a home run hitting contest. And that changes the philosophy of a lot of teams and how they build their teams.
Yeah, the Earl Weaver.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the 3-run shot to go.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The 2-0 pitch missed the inside edge. So Pinheiro a little wild in the early going here. Seattle leading the American League with a .354 ERA, just 29 errors. Ironically, they lost last night's game largely because of an error by the shortstop Guillen. Pinheiro on the verge of walking. The base is loaded, but he drops in a strike. 3-1.
I think this is a big series. Going into the All-Star break, it's the mentality, the emotion of the moment, or the mentality of the team as such going into the break. You win a series against your primary opponent, and you feel pretty good with yourself.
You're right, and as we all know, there are psychological edges to be gained by being able to win some games just before the All-Star break. And you do not want to go into tailspin, of course, just before the break and have to come out of it. So you're right. How teams finish up before the break makes a big difference in the second part of the season.
And after tonight, these clubs will only face each other 3 more times until September. So you want to stick it to the other guy here. Runners at first and second, and it's popped up.
Boy, that's a moonshot.
It kissed a cloud. Well, I'd say that if there were a cloud up there, but it's a gorgeous cloudless night. And here comes Ichiro with Seattle in front here early, 2-0. Well, a quick start for Seattle out in front 2-0. They've out-hit Oakland 3-zip, and it's back to it offensively for the Mariners. Bottom of the order, and Dan Wilson. He's the catcher. And then Ichiro and then Randy Wynn. Part of my Living Legends series along with Keith Jackson tonight. Wednesday Night Baseball from Oakland.
I like to watch this fellow Wilson behind the plate. I think he's pretty good.
Very good. He's a very good defensive catcher. And he swings the bat well in clutch situations also.
He has had a series of big hits. It bounds a foul for a strike.
Back in the days when Charlie had yellow balls and rabbits jumping out of the ground here, it wasn't this pretty. I mean, this is a pretty ballpark now. The field is gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't have Charlie Finley.
I rode the mule in '65 in Kansas City. Ruined a perfectly good pair of pants.
Wait a minute. You were forced to ride a mule?
Well, Charlie came down and said, I'm here, you're a farm boy. Let me see you ride my mule. And so I hopped up there and went around.
Spanked into left for a clean single by Dan Wilson. Now, do you have to break a mule? I don't know all that much about farming. But let's go back to 1986, shall we, in the National League Championship Series with Keith Jackson at the mic.
3-2 to bat. Struck him out. Kevin Bassett swinging strike on 3 breaking balls, and the New York Mets have won the 1986 National League pennant.
What a game that was.
That was been a lot of important moments happened under the dome down in Houston. And I remember that day. The day before that particular game, Vice President Bush was getting into the campaign mode, and he was coming by the ball game, and the Secret Service guys came by with their dog Sonia, the big yellow lab, to sniff out the booth, make sure it was secure. And of course, Tim McCarver and I represented big problems for him, right? But they show up with the dog, and it's sniffing the booth, and all of a sudden it stopped and took a great big bite right out of our cooler. Styrofoam cooler, and McCarver across the room is yelling, "Don't let him get my ham and cheese."
Off the mound, that one skips through for a base hit, and Ichiro is 2 for 2. Wilson into second. So 2 men on, and Ichiro is making tracks on the #1 hitter in the American League, Melvin Mora. He trailed him by 8 points coming into tonight.
The one thing Ichiro did, he got further off the plate than he was the first at bat, and they still tried to get inside, and that allowed him to be able to extend on this one. See, a little different swing than the first time we saw inside pitch. He used one hand almost to guide it out there. He moved off the plate a little bit in that at bat, and they still went back inside anyway.
But if they keep it up, he'll extend a little better and jerk one too.
Well, he can do that.
He can do it. He's like you. He's good bat speed.
Wynn took a swing, fouled it back. And when you look at Ichiro and you think about the quality of pitching or lack thereof after the #1 or #2 starter in Japan all of those years, I was surprised that no one has ever hit 400 in the history of Japanese baseball. If anyone was going to do it, it was going to be this guy. He hit 387 one year. He made a pretty good run, but no one's ever done it.
Hitting 400 is very difficult to do, unless you're Ted Williams and some of the guys earlier.
Especially if you don't walk.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you do not walk.
Already the bullpen is active for the Oakland A's. It's Halama getting ready. And a little too early for Maka and the Oakland cover. They get the left-hander starting to loosen up, and this lefty is scuffling. He's given up 2 hits in this inning, 3 in the first. He also walked 2 men in the opening frame. Hernandez looking for room back toward the screen, but that's over the top.
Wasn't there a fellow in Japan named Nakajima? Wasn't he?
Yeah, good player.
Good hitter.
Yeah.
I went over there in 1970 and did the Japanese All-Star baseball game. And Blasingame, Wade Blasingame was manager of Osaka. So the game was in Osaka. I changed my clothes in the hall. I couldn't fit in the room.
Keith, of course, covered also 10 Summer and Winter Olympics as well. And for Wide World of Sports, traveling to 31 countries.
Yeah, I saw that on the bottom.
31 countries.
But you know what? The thing on the resume that I'm most jealous of, he did 11 World Series. That's pretty special.
Championship series. There were good years too, Joe. That was in the 70s. You know, you were part of it. There were some good baseball teams around in those times. Kansas City, the Yankees, Cincinnati, Dodgers, Giants. I remember one time our oldest son went on a trip with me up to San Francisco back in the 60s to do a game, and foul ball, and he came home, and he had played catch with Willie Mays and Jimmy Davenport, and Willie McCovey had talked to him and given him a baseball and this and that. And he'd been hanging out with some of the great names in the history of the game. And he comes home and his mom says, well, did you have fun, Lindsay? What did you do? And he said, oh, nothing. I ate hot dogs. He did. He ate about 6 hot dogs. Horace Stoneham started to send him a bill.
Well, there you go. Wynn loops that one into foul territory. Hatteberg giving chase and can't quite get it.
Well, one of the things that surprised me all the time, Keith, about this ballpark and Old Candlestick Park and Dodger Stadium, the price of real estate in California is very high, but these two ballparks have so much foul territory, it's almost unbelievable. I mean, this ballpark, Dodger Stadium, and Old Candlestick, I mean, just tons of room to chase foul balls. But I also felt like that was one of the reasons guys could not lead the league in hitting in some of those ballparks, because too many foul pop-ups that are caught, whereas other stadiums, they're into the seats and you get another swing.
Wynn gets another swing here and fans on it. Lilly gets him.
I think because Lilly wasn't getting many people out, they didn't bunt in this situation. I thought at first they might bunt because you mentioned earlier Randy Wynn has been scuffling a little bit, not swinging the bat well, and they could have put runners at second and third with Brett Boone and Edgar Martinez coming up. And I actually thought they would bunt. I mean, your second place hitter, that's kind of what his job is in a lot of these cases. But I think because Lilly wasn't throwing well, they wanted to let him go ahead and swing.
Boone cracked an RBI double his first time up, so 68 runs batted in, and he's hit 22 home runs already. Keith, all last year, he hit 24.
Man.
He's a surprise that he has developed into this, to show this much power, because I didn't think there was any indication it was coming, but he's obviously done some work in the weight room, too.
Yeah.
And not a big guy. We've said it for years. He takes that big man swing, but it's not like he's Mark McGwire up there. Under 6 feet. 2 men on and 1 out, and again Lilly for the second consecutive inning in dire need of a double play ball. And rolls underneath Hernandez, and the runners have to hold. He's having a hard time containing Lilly, isn't he?
Well, I think that's because Lilly's all over the place. You give a target inside, he throws it outside. You give it outside, he throws it inside, and he's just missing the target so badly in a lot of cases, and that's what's causing him a lot of problems behind the plate.
Hard hit, base hit into left. Wilson into third. They're going to wave him in. They're going to test Singleton's arm, and it's a poor throw. That skipped 2 or 3 times, and it's another RBI for the red-hot Brett Boone. 69 runs batted in, and we'll see if that's it for Lilly. They are hammering him.
Well, there's a fastball pretty much down the middle in. Singleton comes up. He didn't get enough on this throw. It just kind of dies. Well, we've seen guys held up earlier, but right here they go ahead and send Wilson. And he's able to come across and score.
Well, Lilly is going to hang in there against Edgar Martinez. This is rolling the dice. She takes ball 1.
Yeah, but when they had changed the stadium, then they enlarged that left center and center field, put those seats up there. That blocked off the wind. And you hit the ball farther in this ballpark right now than you could 10 years ago.
You're right. I mean, and not only that, the cold air and the wind, you're right, it just made it a very difficult ballpark to hit home runs in.
Martinez 0 for 1. He's lined to short. Did not like that call from Dana DeMuth. An inside corner strike, gets 1-1. Edgar at 300 on the nose. Against the Oakland A's in his career, he's a .321 career hitter. That's one of 16 major league clubs that he hits at least 300 against over a 15-year career. He is some kind of hitter.
Well, he's probably the best designated hitter ever, you know, if you just look at his career and what he's done in all those years.
Twice a batting champ. The question is he Hall of Fame material?
Well, that's always a question. So I think I was surprised, you know, all the success that he's had. But I mean, he just got his 2000th hit recently, but he does walk a lot. And, you know, when you walk a lot, you're not going to end up with a high total of hits all the time. As good a hitter as he's been, you know, it'd be difficult for him to, you know, get 200 hits like Ichiro does, because Ichiro doesn't walk.
Ichiro and Boone on base. Big swing by Edgar. And right back to the net, 2-2.
And I talked to Edgar before the game, and he said earlier, Harang pitched very well yesterday. And he was talking about the day before, and he was talking about the fact of how Harang had changed a little bit. Wasn't using the big curveball, using the little cutters and sinkers and moving the ball around very well.
Seattle up 3-0 and poised for more here. The runners are going to take off, and there's a Squibber back toward the hill. Lilly gets to it and gets the out at first. So that's out number 2, but they both move up. And let's go to the studio now for an update. Here are Reese and Rob, guys.
White Sox and Twins, all those new faces for the White Sox, and Paul Konerko down 6-5 in the bottom of the 11th. This guy was hitting a .185. His 4th home run of the year ties it up. Then in the bottom of the 12th, the big hurt had already homered once, Dibs.
Yeah, and you know what? He was, before the season, they said he wasn't as good as he used to be. They gave him a $5 million deal. He's going to the All-Star game, Reese.
3rd walk-off win in their last 6 for the White Sox.
White Sox moving up, just 3 back of Kansas City heading into the night's play. And absolutely catching fire. Now, if they win tonight, they're only going to be a 500 team, but in that division, that's pretty hot as we give you a look at the Central Division standings. And it looks like Jerry Manuel has survived.
Well, you're right, and you have to give the White Sox a lot of credit for sticking with him that long. But just look at the fact they've gotten Roberto Alomar and Carl Everett coming now to add to that offense.
Cameron to center field. Burns backing up. Still backing up. He's got it. So Lilly, by his fingernails, continues to hang on, but he does give up 3 more hits and another run. And well, those are the aces of the Seattle staff, Jamie Moyer and Freddie Garcia. 3-0 Seattle in front. And Joel Pinheiro is doing just fine on his own. He is not allowed to hit after the first inning. He'll go after Jermaine Dye, Chris Singleton, and Frank Medicino in inning number 2. 3-0 the Mariners. Last night was Oakland winning in 11.
There is no question but what the game of baseball and those who play it have added more to the art of expectoration than anyone on the face of it.
I have never heard spitting summed up quite so luxuriously as you just did, but of course I would expect that from you. Expectoration. Nobody says that like Keith Jackson. That's
I remember one night in Boston, Zip Zimmer was the manager, and Zip leaned over to do his thing, and I mean the entire dugout went with it. It was like the Rockettes. It was incredible.
That man can spit. Expectorate. Died 161. He got back into the lineup last night. In fact, he won last night's game in the 11th inning with a sac fly, driving in Terrence Long for the victory. It was his first game in over a week.
He gets his wheel pumped up and gets it well. He's a good player.
Yes, he is.
And he needed a cortisone shot on Friday in that right knee. It's been very sore. Mike Cameron gets underneath it. Let's go back to 1977 and Reggie's night in New York.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Hard shot right field. It's gone. Goodbye.
Man, did he kill that last one?
He killed a lot of them. He mashed more baseballs that season. I thought maybe that Billy Crystal stop by and do some imitations of Howard so he could interrupt us.
I was going to say, you know what? I was going to say that. I mean, Howard forgot that the home run call is your job. You know what I mean? I was listening to that.
Howard was, Reggie left everyone except Howard speechless, I guess. My goodness, 3 home runs in a clinching game there, but you and Howard became great friends, didn't you?
You know, on a hot, muggy night in Baltimore or Cleveland in a 3-2 ball game, it's 4 hours and 41 minutes long. It was handy to have it.
Well, I know that he was very near and dear to you. You guys had so many big adventures.
We had more fun together. Drysdale and Euchre, Bob Euchre and Don Drysdale and Howard and I had a million laughs. We really did. It was great.
Singleton strikes out. That'll bring up Frank Menachino.
Number 11, Frank Menachino.
Who's a New Yorker right out of Staten Island. In fact, I was talking to Frank before the game, and I said, well, which way did you go as a kid? Were you a Met fan or a Yankee fan? He said, I was a Yankee fan until they traded Reggie Jackson. Until Reggie left, he said, up until that point, I was Yankees all the way. He said, but I rooted more for players than teams. So when the Mets started getting guys like Lenny Dykstra and Wally Backman and players like that who play the game like Frank does, very hard-nosed, tough kid, so they started to root for those kind of players. But Reggie was his guy until he was no longer a Yankee. Menachino hitting .239 with a couple of home runs. He's driven in 5. Bases empty, 2 out here.
But he's still a Yankee, really.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a D's, Dims, and Do's guy. I mean, he's a twos and trees guy. You hear a lot of that in his dialect. He's a very engaging guy. One of the funniest players on the Oakland A's. A great sense of humor. He spins away by Pinheiro. Has excellent control, but he had trouble with it in the first inning. He walked 2 men. He walked Burns and Tejada. He escaped the inning without any runs. It's a lot of ground balls. Good 2-seam sinker. He's a curveball, a changeup, and a slider. 24 years old from Puerto Rico. Wants Wilson to go through the signs again, and here comes the 2-2. Fastball, full count. As Joe pointed out during the open, Seattle is probably top to bottom the most balanced team in the American League. They're tops in pitching. They're number 1 defensively in all of baseball. Swatted into right, but Ichiro right there. 1, 2, 3 they go. Pinheiro very sharp in this frame. And he has 3 runs to work with as we go to inning number 3 in Oakland.
ESPN 2's Wednesday Night Baseball, brought to you by Radio Shack, official sponsor of Major League Baseball, and Allstate. You're in good hands with Allstate.
What a perfect night here in Oakland, California. Welcome back to Wednesday Night Baseball as Colburn is in the box taking a strike. 3-0 Seattle. Keith Jackson, Joe Morgan, Dave O'Brien with you. And I remember reading something about Monday Night Baseball. I think a lot of fans probably not even aware that you were the original voice of Monday Night Football, but Monday Night Baseball was a big franchise for you. And the best game you ever saw was on a Monday, right? The best game you ever broadcast.
Well, certainly the 9th inning was. Lily's getting stronger, isn't he?
Well, he got ahead of the hitter. That's his problem. If he can get ahead of any of the hitters, then he has a chance of, of getting them out. His problem so far this ball game is he has not been able to get ahead. He got behind Boone a couple of times, and Boone's made him pay for it.
The 1-2 on Colburn, taken in tight for ball 2-2.
1977, Monday night, May 9 in St. Louis. Warm night. Cincinnati and the Cardinals having at it. And I, for some reason, have put this in the back of my head and kept it there. I probably will forever.
Swing and a miss, and Hernandez will complete the strikeout with a throw to first, 1 away.
But it was a 5-5, bases loaded, and Al Rabaski, known as the Mad Hungarian back in those days, comes into the ball game, and they're playing Cincinnati. George Foster, Johnny Bench, and Bob Bailey were the 3 guys who faced Al Rabaski that night, and he struck them all out. I mean, that's a load.
Yes.
To strike him out.
With the bases loaded.
Guess who was a spectator on second base?
This guy over here, yeah. Mr. Morgan.
He got out of it, and the 10th inning, Ted Simmons won it with a home run. But it was when Rabaski worked his way through those 3 hitters with the bases loaded against that ball club. Whoa. I'll never forget it.
And I have to tell you, Bench, Foster, and Bailey were all good fastball hitters. And that's what Rabowski featured, but that was a once in a lifetime thing, because he wouldn't want to make his living trying to go through those 3 guys with the bases loaded too often.
He became a broadcaster.
Yeah.
Gilchrist taking a strike, and he'll take a seat as well. Consecutive strikeouts by Lillard. Let's go to the studio, guys.
All right, Dave. Giants and Cardinals tonight. Barry Bonds a couple of times, Dibs.
63rd time in his career. He's done a multi-home run game, Reese. 460, 461. Now only 8 behind Willie McCovey for the all-time Giant home run leader.
And on the all-time list, now just 23 short of Willie Mays' 660.
And now 24 for the season, so moving up there, closing in on Mike Lowell. Well, punches that one up the middle and right by Lilly. A base hit for Jeff Cirillo with 2 out. You can see a lot more Barry Bonds coming up tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern. That's ESPN2 day game. Reeder and Simon Tachi, the scheduled pitchers. It's the Giants and the Cardinals. You'll also see the top hitter in baseball, Albert Pujols, who's been incredible. But Barry Bonds moving up 637 home runs now, along with 500 stolen bases. And you can see that everywhere, anywhere in the United States. It's a full national broadcast tomorrow.
He's swimming with some big fish.
Yes, he is. I mean, I get calls every day. Someone want to ask me, is Bonds the greatest hitter ever? Is he the greatest player ever? Is he the greatest slugger ever? I mean, I continually get those types of questions each and every day.
I just want to know why I can't say that swinging with some big fish and get that same kind of response out of Joe. But Hank Aaron 755, and there's Ruth at 714. And of course the great Willie Mays at 660, so his godfather is next.
Yep.
Well, about 8 to 10 days ago, Barry was in the paper, was quoted as saying, "I'm not hitting well. I'm not doing anything. I really just not playing, not hitting the ball well." And since that time, he's hitting the ball well. I mean, I guess he got mad at himself, and all of a sudden he's picked it up another notch, as only he can.
But 600 plus home runs, 500 stolen bases.
Yeah, but you've got it. First, you've got to see the ball.
Yeah.
Then the hands have got to obey the mind, right? He's a different guy.
Yeah, he is different.
Because the distance between my head and my hands on the golf course has become transcontinental. Just think about that. That's here we go.
Wilson punched into right field, so they're at it again against Lilly. Back-to-back singles, both with 2 out by Cirillo and Wilson. And now you got Ichiro to contend with. He hasn't made it out tonight. He's 2 for 2.
And I talked about the adjustment he made. He kind of fought the ball off the first time up to get a base hit. And the next time up, he made an adjustment by stepping kind of away from the plate instead of stepping in. And he was able to get his arms extended and hit a routine single to center field. But he showed you 2 different swings and 2 different at-bats, and that's why he's such a good hitter.
A single in the first and again in the second. So pushing up that batting average. Bounding ball toward the hole, cut off nicely by Menachino. He slings it on to first in time. That retires the side. Lilly gives up 2 more hits, but no runs for the first time in an inning. Seattle leads it 3-0. It's the home half of the 3rd inning here from Oakland. Wednesday night baseball, 3-0 Seattle. 8 hits already for the Mariners, and nothing yet off Joel Pinheiro for the Athletics. They go to the bottom of the order. Mark Ellis, then Eric Burns and Scott Hatterberg. Hall of Famer Joe Morgan, along with United States Marine Keith Jackson and Dave O'Brien.
Oh.
Well, but you're always a Marine.
But an old China Marine.
I know you had that Marine kind of toughness. I didn't know that, though.
Put on.
4 years, right? 4 years of
I loved it. I grew up. I was a baby. I was a kid. I learned to shave in the Marines.
A strike to Ellis. He hails from the little town of Rapid City, South Dakota. It's the same little town that former A's second baseman Dick Green came from. He was a pretty key guy for their World Championship teams. Their run of 3 in a row with Charlie Finley back in the 70s.
He was one of the old-time second basemen, just defense. He played great defense. Now the Brett Boones and the Alomars of the world, they're offensive second basemen as well.
Cirillo gobbles it up for out number 1. Well, you don't see too many major leaguers from South Dakota. In fact, Ellis has the distinction of being the number 4 all-time home run hitter out of that state. He's at 11.
Isn't that fella Erstad?
Erstad's from that part of the world. And Terry Francona, who's the A's bench coach.
Yeah.
He's from Aberdeen, South Dakota. Here's Burns. He drew a walk in the first inning. Here's Terry, former Philadelphia Phillies manager. Now the bench coach there with Ken Mocker.
And his father could really hit. Tito.
Yeah, he could.
He could hit.
I think Terry's one of those guys, a very smart baseball man. He's probably going to manage again one day in the major leagues. Right now having a lot of fun watching this guy swing the bat. He has been one of baseball's biggest surprises this year. Eric Burns, along with Dontrell Willis, and Melvin Mora, and Vernon Wells of the Toronto Blue Jays, who is second in the American League and runs batted in.
I was doing the second game, this season with the A's. And I talked to Eric Burns and Adam Pyatt for a few minutes.
Popped that one up right around the pitcher's mound. Here comes Colbrin right over the top of the hill, making a catch. Cirillo rising up on the anthill to make out number 2.
And the next time I came back about a week later, and I'm talking to the same 2 guys, and Eric Burns said, "Joe, I need a favor." I said, "What do you need?" He said, "I want you to tell the world that the A's have a player over here. If somebody just gives him a chance, I'm going to show him what I could do." He said, "I don't care who it is, just tell him there's a good player sitting on the bench for the Oakland A's." And Adam Pyatt says, "Yeah, I feel that way too." But Eric Burns got an opportunity, and I'm just so happy that he got the opportunity and he's taken advantage of it. But it was funny. I mean, it was just an interesting conversation. He said, "Just tell everyone that there's one guy sitting over here." And Adam said, "No, there's 2.
Pyatt was in the lineup a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and he got a couple of key hits as well. So, I mean, there are 2 guys that are, waiting their turn. Burns has had his shot, and he's taken advantage of it.
Atterberg 0 for 1. Keith Jackson coming your way with the play-by-play of inning number 4, as that one is lofted off to the left and into the stands.
It's a good time to go cut the grass or whatever you're planning on doing.
No, it's a good time to go get your VCR ready.
Yeah. Settle in.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. This is a real honor to have you with us on Wednesday Night Baseball. Really is.
Well, if you ever wonder what happened to Aladdin's lamp, I have it.
Now, why can't you say things like that, Dave?
Joe,
I mean the fish stories and the Aladdin lamp and whatever.
Come on
this
now.
young fella's pretty good. I tell you, we'll hear him a long time.
No, he's great.
Very good.
I got to come up with something.
Yeah, come on.
But he's taking all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Check swing, and he did not offer. 93-mile-an-hour fastball there by Pinheiro, who still has not allowed a hit.
You learn those things when you're driving the grade, getting into Lewiston, Idaho, places like that.
Atterberg taking ball first. That's 3 walks already by Pinheiro. This one coming with 2 out. And it's Tejada next.
The batter, shortstop Miguel Tejada.
We mentioned earlier 15 home runs for Miguel Tejada, and that's been a good luck charm for the Oakland A's. They're 12-3 in games in which he homers. And of course, last year during that ridiculous 20-game winning streak that the A's put together, especially near the tail end of that win streak, to keep it alive on 2 or 3 consecutive days. He had huge hits.
Well, he was looking right there.
Yes, and he got what he was looking for and fouled it back.
Well, you, the fan, can vote right now on who should win an ESPY. Player is the nominee for best category. Polls open right now. Log on to ESPN.com. The keyword is ESPY. For best major league player, Miguel Tejada is in the running. And you can watch the ESPYs live Wednesday, July 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Funny thing about baseball, though, in the history of the game, Joe, is you got paid for what you did last year.
Right.
That's still to some degree true.
Yeah, well, it used to be the absolute. That's the way it was, but it's changed a little bit now because, you know, you get paid sometimes now on potential, which is okay if people are willing to do that.
The 0-2 moved him off the plate.
But McGill is on, Tejada is on that ESPY list because of last year.
Correct. I mean, he's actually one of those guys that's been getting better each and every year. I mean, 34 home runs. You know, for a shortstop. I mean, you're talking about Ernie Banks and Alex Rodriguez.
Just got his bat on it. Charging. Bloomquist fires. Nicely
that's
done.
pretty good.
And beat him by a step at first. So 1 man left. And coming up, the play-by-play voice of Keith Jackson here from Oakland, California. Come on back.
Okay, here we are, everybody. We're here at the LCS playoffs, and I'm Keith Jackson along with my co-host, Tim McCarver. What do you got to say about that, Tim?
The ball players will have to fight their way to the clubhouse. As the Milwaukee baseball fans who have not had this kind of a day since the Milwaukee Braves.
See old Reg walk up there dragging his bat, and I'm Mr. October. Throw me the sucker. And have him do that 3 times. Oh, pretty good stuff.
The only other man that's done that in the World Series, he did it twice, Babe Ruth.
2 out, 2 on, 2-0 Boston, top of the 7th. Hit high in the air to left field. Going to the corner, Yastrzemski. It's over the wall. It's a home run for Bucky Dent.
Folks, here's Keith Jackson.
Thank you, Dave. I'll try it. Randy Wynn leads it off for the Seattle Mariners with Brett Boone waiting and Edgar Martinez to follow. Ed Lilly struggling, hanging on literally from the first inning on, but he's still in there. And he's pitching better now than he was back in the first inning. Quite a bit better. Ball is sharply struck right side, foul ball into the crowd. It is a 3-0 ball game for the Seattle Mariners. They jumped on Lilly early on in the ball game, and they've just continued to peck away and add to it. But he's still there. And when Mr. Doubleday designed this game, he decided 9 innings was a fair number to play, and you've got to play at 9. And it's worth, I think, noting that the Oakland A's have won 12 ball games this season in their last at-bat. That's the most for any American League team. So they don't go have a sandwich. They wait for the last lick. That's foul ball to play.
I'm trying to keep from laughing at some of these things. Having the last at-bat. Because, I mean, I remember sitting at home and listening and watching you do these games, and it just all comes back in my ears now. So I'm going to just be quiet and listen like everyone else.
Don't be quiet.
No,
I need all the help I can get.
No.
Win at the plate. And the pitch is just off inside. Two balls, 2 strikes. Randy Wynn, I think, an asset to this ball club. He's a very steady performer. And he's one of those kind of guys that plays well through the dog days. Like that deep summer when your bones are tired and your mind is turned to oatmeal a couple of times a week. Hard times, but that's when your champions step up. Swings through the pitch, and he's gone.
Well, the one thing that Willie, when he can get ahead, we've seen him be able to dispose of the hitters. His problem is when he stays behind the hitters and he can't get this sort of help with hitters going out of the strike zone. If he can get ahead, hitters will help him out. But falling behind, they've been able to sit on pitches and drive them, especially this guy, Brett Boone.
And Booney is 2 for 2 tonight. Looks at a pitch outside. Daddy was Bob. Very good catcher. Major League manager. Played some in the Pacific Coast League in his younger days, rising to the top. The Boone family is a baseball family. Good sharp breaking ball thrown down inside, and Boone has a whiff and misses.
And Brett says he has a young son that he's working with, so they would be the next generation of Boones playing in the major league.
Good pitch. Took a little off. Got him out in front. You know, Boney bounces that ball off his right. I mean, the bat off his right shoulder. You pumped.
Well, there were different reasons. I think he uses his more for timing. Mine was just to get the bat into the proper position.
A little up.
I know you saw a lot of, great players, and you got a chance to, see Willie Mays. You talked about him. You talked about, I know you saw Clemente. So, all the great players in that era. There's an ongoing argument of who is the greatest player, alive, or who's the greatest player to ever play.
I don't think it's possible to define it that way. I don't think I can. I am not capable of saying that man was the best.
Well, that's good. That's why I brought it up.
I can't do that because everybody, the people like you who are in the Hall of Fame, all brought their own thing they brought their own arsenal, and they contributed in their own way. And the circumstances sometimes, I fly right side, sailing off foul, and will go to the seats. But you can't. I don't believe anybody's that smart.
That's a good outlook, good way of looking at things.
I'm a little surprised too that they really give Boone left center, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, well, with 2 strikes, he'll take the ball the other way sometimes. But you're right. I mean, they're giving him a big gap in left center field. That was a left center field gapper right
Amen.
there.
That was going right to up the gap.
Joe, I'm just delighted that you've decided to say something. You've decided to speak.
Well, I decided I'm going to enjoy the moment as
You realized I needed help.
No.
I'm very firmly convinced that you never had to coax Howard Cosell to say anything. So, glad he's pitching in over there. Took something off, got him out in front. He's gone. That's 2 strikeouts, 2 gone now. There's the bump.
Designated hitter, Edgar Martinez.
But what hands, what quickness of the bat coming through the zone when he started it. I mean, it was as quick a bat as you'll ever see.
Well, that was the strength of my game, so to speak, quickness.
Had something between your ears, too, Joe Morgan.
Thank you.
Very good thinking ball player. Lilly looking sharp in this inning. That's a strike on Edgar.
4 of his last 5 outs have come via the strikeout. He has 6 in a game. Yep.
Don't throw too many of those.
No, but that was a beautiful curveball right there. I don't think Edgar was looking for it. He's looking for a pitch away, and he got a curveball on the inner half of the plate.
He's lost a lot of those. That one's high and away. That'll take you to 1-2 with 2 down. Seattle out in front by a score of 3-0. Scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second. Lilly has steadied in the third and now looks quite strong here in the top of the 4th inning. They've split the first 2 games of this 4-game set, and that one's upstairs. And that'll make it 2-2. Both games have been tight, taut, tough ball games, the kind of games that wear you out. When the Mariners go away, the Angels come along. That's why this is such a big time, I think, of the season for the Oakland A's, because they're playing the prime people in the league, the people they have to beat to survive in this division. So he comes in and he goes strike out, strike out, strike out. Not bad. 3-0. Pinheiro back to the mound for the Seattle Mariners. He's got a no-hitter going. He's walked 3 people. Otherwise, he's got them all out. Durazo, Hernandez, and Dye will face him here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 3-0 for the Mariners. Durazo came to Oakland from the Diamondbacks, and when he gets really sound, will be a force for them. Hard to stay healthy through the course of a baseball season where you're involved in Lord knows how many games, upwards of 200 by the time you get out of spring camp.
I think that's one thing that people overlook a lot of times, how often you are 100% healthy as a baseball player when you play as many games as you do. I've had pitchers tell me that, you know, in their 35 starts, they only feel good in about 10 of those starts. So it's tough to be a Major League Baseball player and play every day.
Good cut, ball fouled back. Of course, it is nice to be 25, 26 years old.
Well, that's true.
I remember those. I remember being limber when I was 56.
All right.
I have that to look forward to.
Inside with a pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes on the leadoff man here in the bottom of the 4th inning. You know what comes after legend, Joe?
What?
Ancestor.
Oh boy. I really thought of it quite that way.
Just for the sake of perspective.
Yeah, keeping it real.
Well, both pitchers working very sharply right now, and the no-hitter continues as Durazo has gone swinging. Now let's join Reese for this update.
All right, Keith, Cubs and Phillies, top of the 9th in a scoreless game. Rob Dibble's here with me, and Rob, Sammy Sosa for the 11th time this year.
This is a huge home run by Sammy Sosa. Coming into tonight, 80 guys in the big leagues had more home runs than Sammy Sosa. That's amazing.
That run stands up. Cubs win it 1-0.
Shot to right, base hit, in the gap, cut off by Ichiro, going for second, throw comes, it is wide, and it's a 2-bagger that breaks up your no-hitter.
It would have been interesting if Ichiro would have come up with the ball cleanly when he made the slide. Fastball over the plate, he lines it to right center right there. If he could have come up with it cleanly, I think he would have been able to hold him to a single because he has such a strong and accurate arm. A little bit off target there, but a nice job by Ichiro anyway.
So it is Ramon Hernandez who breaks up the no-hitter, and here comes Jermaine Dye, who had the hit last night that won the game. Swings and misses.
Pinheiro had one into the 5th inning in his last start against San Diego. Gave up only 4 hits.
There's been a lot of talk in the media, particularly about the Seattle pitchers. How many? Maybe 3. Maybe at least 3 of them will go 200 innings or more this year.
Yeah.
What does that mean when you get down to late September and October?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, you know, do they tire down the stretch? Because a lot of people feel that's what happened to the Yankees last year, because they had some, you know, veteran pitchers, and they were not up, you know, pitching well during the playoffs last year, and we'll just have to wait and see how well the Mariners pitchers hold up.
Well, Jamie is he can see that full number. Garcia, on the other hand, is a young buck. He could probably go 300 innings if he had to. He's big and strong.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think it would affect Jamie Moyer as much because he doesn't throw hard anyway.
Throw hard anyway. I don't believe you're going to time him.
No.
Turn off the radar again. Yeah.
And there you see Garcia, pitcher of the month for June. He got off to a slow start, but he's picked it up lately.
Yeah, but he wanders off sometimes.
Yeah.
Bad time of the game. He needs to sharpen it up just a tad.
He's got great stuff, and they have 3 pitchers. When you think of Pinheiro, Jamie Moyer, and Freddie Garcia, who are going to win at this pace, between 15 and 20 games. The question is, do they have anyone come playoff time who scares them?
Or to match up against the other team's number 1.
Yeah. Against the true number 1. Yeah.
I don't think they do unless it's Garcia.
Yeah. Well, Garcia is definitely capable.
He's been. Franklin in time will be a good one. That's a slow roller shortstop. Bloomquist wheels it across and gets him. So that's 2 down.
This guy Bloomquist looks like a good shortstop, doesn't he? I mean, he's got good balance. He's got quick feet, which is one of the things that you need to be a shortstop. Now watch this. I mean, very smooth. Look at that. Stays down, gathers it in. And he made a great play earlier in the ball game. So he looks like a good shortstop.
Willie's happy to have a chance to play a little. This is Chris Singleton now at the plate. Joel Pinheiro working now with Ramon Hernandez at third base. His team leading 3-0. And we're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Center field by Cameron. On his horse. Hauls it down. Side retired. Well, they break up the no-hitter all right on Hernandez double, but it's still 3-0 Seattle. 3-8-0 Seattle. 1 hit for the Oakland A's. Mike Cameron leads it off for the Mariners. Colburn's on deck, and Bloomquist is waiting, and Ed Lilly is still on the mound. The pitchers tomorrow, Franklin for Seattle against Barry Zito. Foul ball. Zito's it's an impressive pitcher.
I mean, has great stuff, great curveball, fastball. Although he had a 5-0 lead against the Giants last week and couldn't hold it. And he was the American League, of course, Cy Young Award winner last year. Mark Mulder is kind of the ace of the staff so far this season.
Good cut by Mike. Very good defensive outfielder, Mike Cameron. Made a good play to end the last inning.
Last year he was very disappointed because he didn't win a Gold Glove last year. He won one the year before. And he played great defense last year as well.
I know it sounds funny, perhaps, as that's low for ball, to say that patience is a factor in playing, particularly center field. But you just saw a moment ago when Cameron tracked down that rocket that he looked right, turned right a little bit, and then dropped his head and took off. He had a sense where the ball would go. He turned left and the ball was there and reached up and he made the catch. So, little things, but patience is one of them.
Well, that's the great thing about baseball. You know, a lot of little things make a difference in the game, and here's the play you're talking about. But he does have great, I mean, you have to have patience to play this game. I don't care whether it's defensively or offensively, you have to have patience. And Ted Lilly's on a roll.
Yeah, he is. What is that? That's four in a row.
4 in a row, 8 for the game for Lilly.
Yep. Greg Colburn, first baseman tonight, with John Olerud out with a sore hamstring. Carlos Guillen getting a little time. Eric Chavez, third baseman for the A's, is on the bench tonight with a sore foot. He had x-rays. What did the x-rays say?
X-rays were negative. He didn't fracture anything, but I saw him in the clubhouse. He was prone on the sofa. Didn't look very happy about being out of the lineup. They thought he might have fractured it last night.
Breaking pitch was up high, but Colburn couldn't get a hold of it. So it's 2 strikes. 1 out. Call strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first one of those we've had.
Yeah, and that's 3 strikeouts for Colburn in the ballgame. He struck out all 3 times. This will be a fastball away, and you can see it does come back over the outside corner.
Well, the old hook is hard to handle. It's just there's just enough speed on it, but yet at the same time there's just enough movement on it that sometimes it just simply paralyzes you.
Well, before that pitch, he had thrown 97. Florida needed 97 pitches to get out of the first inning at Boston the other day.
Was that amazing?
The Red Sox scored 14 runs.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's a shot. Right on the nose. Going for 2. He's out. He's safe. Woo.
Great hustle there by Bloomquist. He ran from home plate. He made up his mind. He was going for 2 if they didn't stop him. And it's an excellent base running play there by Bloomquist. Terrence Long kind of backs up to get it. He didn't really cut it off. And good hustle by Bloomquist. And he has himself a double.
Close.
See, right there is where he made the double. You see him drop his head and just make up his mind. He's going to second base. And he does a good job of hustling in there. And it's a good play all the time with 2 outs.
Cirillo, the batter. Outside.
I think you got Bloomquist going early in the telecast when you referred to him as a Cougar. he's had a terrific game since then.
I like what he's done in the field. You know, a shortstop's job first and foremost is to play defense. And that's what I look at first. And I mean, he's a good defensive player. He's got good quickness. He's got great feet. And then you add a bat and you add some hustle. And I said that earlier, that's one of the things that the Mariners do well. They're aggressive on the bases. And I like that.
Yeah, it feeds from one to the next to the next to the next, and the first thing you know, got the whole ball club doing it. And give Piniella credit for that. Lou was the one that made that part of their persona. And it's still there, and Bob Melvin has cultivated it very well.
And that's an interesting point. I think a lot of times we do not give guys credit, you know, for what they did when they were here, even though they're no longer there. I mean, it sometimes people think you're criticizing the one person that's there if you compliment the guy that was left, but that's not true. I think you're right. Lou Piniella turned this franchise around and made it a winning franchise.
I saw a story in the paper where things not going too well right now in Tampa Bay, that Lou's losing weight. I can see why. The way he's losing, his team's losing games. Oh my goodness.
54 of them so far.
But the way they're losing. A little mistake here. And
exactly.
There, and then wham.
But that's why teams do lose. I mean, you know, they make little mistakes in tough, crucial situations.
Well, you like the old homely goes, Joe. Baseball is the perfect game of geometry, spoiled only by the human factor.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, that's all right. I got
Keith, just one more.
Hey, that's okay. I have it on my VCR.
You got anything?
Yeah, I got it.
I need a copy of that. Finish tonight.
It is, though. Most everything about it's an angle, except for the deuce that's made a lot of people lawyers.
It's funny you said that, because Jerry West, who's a basketball player, of course, a great basketball player, he and I were talking about it. He loves baseball. He watches, you know, games all the time, and he was talking about the same thing: the angles on the baseball field compared to the angles on the basketball court. And he was, I mean, it was very interesting that he chose, you know, the fact that it's the angles in the game, the angles on the baseball court that are similar, basketball court that are similar. And then you bring up the angles, see?
Zeke is in Memphis. Somehow that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Zeke and Kevin Creek.
Not a nice man or anything.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Fellow.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Great play. Pretty good sticker on the go.
Yeah, real good.
Ooh. All right, here we are with a 3-2 count. And at second base, Willie Bloomquist and Jeff Cirillo trying to be patient. Work here with Ted Lilly. Lilly had him going. I mean, he sawed him off. Struck out 5 in a row, and then Bloomquist dinged him for a double. With 2 out, and Cirillo's trying to hustle him home, and Jeff gets a walk out of it. And that'll bring up Dan Wilson, the catcher. With 2 down.
Is also going to get the bullpen going again for the Oakland A's. 106 pitches for Ted Lilly. I thought he was 1 batter away from getting lifted in the 2nd inning when he had given up his 6th hit.
I think he was.
And he got an out. He got a little comebacker by Edgar Martinez and finished out the inning, but he was close. It's Halama again.
He came down from Seattle, didn't he?
Yeah. My memory of Halama is the game he pitched against the New York Yankees in the League Championship Series a few years ago. Well, the League Champ, it was the LLDS, the Division Championship, and he pitched a great game against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. And I mean, he had everything working for him: change-up, curveball, slider. I mean, he was just magnificent that night.
Well, they're going to leave him out there.
You see, I haven't done the 11 World Championships, World Series and League Championship Series like you have. That's why I get them mixed up. You know, ALDS and LCS and all that.
So did I. Show up at the wrong ballpark sometimes. All right, Dan Wilson stands in, and Lilly chases Bloomquist back to second base. He's 1 man from being gone. If he doesn't get Wilson, it's see you later.
This may be his last hitter either way.
Either way, absolutely. The ball is looped to right. It's going to drop. Base hit. Bloomquist turn in there. He's coming home. He's in there. It's 4-0 Seattle. Wilson delivers.
Well, you see Ken Maka trying to decide what he wants to do. He just kind of reaches out and pokes this ball to right field. Not a good swing. It was an off-speed pitch, and he just flipped it into right field for a base hit.
Well, the crowd does not like this decision at all.
Well, I think what Maka's doing, he said, if I let him stand there to pitch to the right-hander who just flipped it out there, I've got to leave him in to pitch to Ichiro.
Even though it's Ichiro?
Yeah. I just think that's his philosophy right here.
Strike.
I mean, he's saying if I left him in to pitch to the right-hander, how can I take him out against the left-hander? And to be blunt with you, I like that idea. I mean, a lot of times, you know, you see a guy come out and they leave him in, he gets a hit, and then he goes back. Well, you got a left-hander up here. Let's see what he can do. Oh.
Hit him.
Well, I think that's it.
The question for Seattle as their heart stops for a moment is what did it do to Ichiro's body? Bob Melvin comes in a hurry to find out. So does the trainer, and he's taking his time getting up.
Ichiro may be the most limber athlete in professional sports today. That one looked like it got him on the calf, in the back of that leg.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that'll hurt. And it also is a place that can be troublesome tomorrow. But they may be thinking about sending him to the clubhouse here with a 4-0 lead, and where it's early in the ball game to take him out. But you might want to ice that thing. I'm sure they will when they come to the break here.
Yeah, Lilly's about to be put on ice at last.
Yep, he's gone. So we're going to get a pitching change here for the Oakland A's. The Seattle Mariners leading 4-0. Ted Lilly is gone. John Halama comes on in relief. The book on Lilly, 5 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 4 runs, all earned. He struck out 9.
That's the amazing figure. He struck out 9 Mariners.
John Halama 2-4 on the year. Has not allowed a run, however, in his last 3 appearances in 5 1/3 innings. So he's pitched well in his last outings. And right here he's facing Randy Wynn with 2 out and 2 on. I'm sorry, 3 on. Bases loaded. Ichiro, we've been watching him at first base, and he's walking some and flexing the leg. He was struck just in the back part of the right leg on the pitch by Ted Lilly. He seems all right. Big chance for Randy Wynn.
I think this is the toughest situation for a reliever to come into, and that is with a bases loaded situation. You really do not have any margin for error. If you miss with the first pitch, the hitter starts to zone in, and now it's 2-0, and you have to give in.
Dragged foul just past third base. Sounded like a broken bat.
Yeah, that pitch was off the plate inside, and Randy Wynn swung at it, and he broke his bat.
And very quickly, the bat boy shot another one out to him. This is an area of baseball has done a very good job, I think, of speeding up the game. Because Wynn would just about right now be right around the on-deck circle, and we'd be sitting here, and Keith would be sharing some of his sandwich with me. And
visiting the rosin bag.
Yeah.
How do you get that off your hands, Joe? Is there a magic formula that baseball uses?
Well, we just used to, use alcohol to wipe it off, and then you have to wash that off. So, but most of the hitters now, they use gloves. They use batting gloves, so it's not directly onto your hands.
They're sissies.
Yeah.
There isn't a corn in the crowd, right? There's not a callus in the bunch. Well, it gets another run in as Halama comes out of the bullpen and walks Randy Wynn to force in the run.
Again, that is just a tough situation to have to come into. Bases loaded. You do not want to give in and have him drive the ball up the gap and blow the game open. So you end up trying to pitch carefully, and then you fall behind.
Cirillo, the man scoring. Wilson moves over. Suzuki Ichiro is now at second, and Randy Wynn over at first base, and the batter. Trouble. Brett Boone. Got a strike on him to start him. Came back, took something off, change misses. Having been away from baseball for all these years since 1986, I'll frankly admit to you I can't tell where it is up and down unless I look at the television line.
Well, I mean, welcome to the club. There are a lot of guys that can't tell. But, it's really funny, though. I can see the ball better up here in the movement of the ball than I can watching on television. Mm-hmm. I had that conversation with Edgar Martinez today.
1-2, 2 out. Back to the mound. So Halama walked one run across, but he gets Boone, and Decidus retires. But it is now 5-0 Seattle.
Way, Pep Boys, the car people. Starbucks double shot espresso drink. Bring on the day. And Armor All. It doesn't just clean and shine, it protects.
We come back to baseball here in the city of Oakland, and Frank Menachino leads it off for the A's. They're down in the ball game by a score of 5-0, and they're facing Joel Pinheiro of the Seattle Mariners, having a good night so far. They have split the first 2 games of the series. It's a 4-game series. They did the makeup game on Monday. That was a game that was supposed to have been played in Japan, and they didn't make the trip. Following Menachino will be Mark Ellis, and then we'll go to the top of the order for Eric Burns. And Pinheiro now goes to a count of 2-1. There's the book on Joel to this point. 77 pitches through 4 2/3 innings. 109 pitches for Oakland starter Ted Lilly. High pop-up, right side playable. A lot of room, as Joe mentioned earlier, and the catch is made by Coleman, playing first base in place of John Olerud tonight. Olerud with a sore hamstring.
Now batting second baseman Mark Ellis.
Ellis in, first time out, rolled out to the third baseman Cirillo. So he's 0 for 1. Outside first pitch. Fouled away. 0-2.
A lot of people, you live in Washington, so you know more about Seattle and Washington Huskies probably than you do anybody else, huh?
Well, I don't really. No, I don't. Frankly.
Well, every time a Washington player comes up, you know who he is.
Well, yes, I know something of that.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Atterberg's from Washington and Olerud.
High drive, right field. Ichiro backing up, has a lot of room now, makes the catch, makes it look easy. 2 down. You know, one of the things I was watching the other night, though, old game, and he went up against the wall, bounced off the wall, and then jumped to make the catch. A catch that he probably wouldn't have made if he had gone up the wall and made contact with it. But it was interesting that it just showed you, I think, how clever this fellow is and how hard he works at his trade.
Well, he's got, as I said, he got great baseball instincts.
And you know, a lot of guys try to climb the wall, and that only keeps you from jumping as high. Of course, the guys who labor in the pasture are eternally thankful that they finally padded all the walls.
Yeah. Whoa. People forget years ago the walls were not padded and guys ran into them and hurt themselves a lot.
The most famous picture of all came out of Portland, Oregon. One of the Beavers went right through the wall.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're still playing.
That's still playing.
2 strikes on Eric Burns. They've handled him tonight. He's walked and then popped out to the third baseman. Not a very good swing, and they get him on a swinging strike. And so they go in order here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and it continues 5-zip Seattle. Edgar Martinez will lead it off for the Mariners, followed by Mike Cameron, then Greg Colburn, and they're sitting on a 5-0 lead, and they look comfortable right now the way Joel Pinheiro is pitching. Edgar in the ball game has been quiet. Line to the shortstop, bounced back to the pitcher, and struck out swinging. And looks at a strike from John Halama, a former teammate. It is said by some that Seattle is perhaps a team that's built for the long run. I know Dave mentioned that yesterday in talking about it. And teams built for the long run may not necessarily be the kind of teams that can stave off a tough team in a 7-game series. That ball is lined sharply up the alley by Martinez. Edgar is going to rumble along and go on down to second base. You don't lie. I'm sure that every time Edgar turns and heads for second base, that Bob Melvin holds his breath.
On those legs, yeah.
You're right. He's had so many problems with his legs. But he is such a great hitter.
That's pure.
That's exactly. A line drive up the gap in left center. And he just kind of takes his time, jogging into second.
Yeah, that's actual speed right there.
And about my speed.
That's a good point. I mean, you're making about teams for the long haul and teams for the, built for the playoffs. I thought, the Yankees a few years ago were built for the championship season. They had good starters, good defense.
Oh, the bat explodes. The ball bounced to the second baseman. Out at first. Edgar goes to third. So Mike Cameron's bat just absolutely exploded. A lot of that going on these days. Of course, the weight of the bat's all out at the end of it. The handle is very thin.
Very thin, very light bat. And that ball's out near the end of the bat, and it just kind of shatters. But a lot of hitters use 31-ounce bats. And as you said, the weight is out at the end. He hits it right out at the end, and handle's still in his hand.
If it is true that everything in life is cyclical, one of these days somebody will come back with the old Charlie Gehringer model.
Yeah, big bat, big handle, big barrel, and a lot of weight.
Yep, the old milk bottle.
I did a piece on Alfonso Soriano the other day.
Up the middle it goes. Colburn's first hit of the night, and here comes Edgar to score. So he doubles and then ambles home, and it's a 6-0 Seattle lead.
Well, one of the things that the Mariners do so well is they seem to be able to get key hits in clutch situations, and they put a lot of guys out there. I think that's the key. They have a lot of good hitters on this ball club. guys that are capable of hitting 300.
Colburn, who is playing in relief of Olerud, had struck out 3 times in a row. But then all of a sudden just put the bat on the ball and pushed it to the right side and got base hit an RBI. This is Willie Bloomquist, who's had a pretty good ball game. He's walked in and out and then doubled.
And I was telling about Soriano. He had a 35-inch, 33-ounce bat, and that was the biggest bat on the Yankees team.
To the mound. Second one. Throw to first. Double play. Inning is over. But the Mariners pick up another. And they lead it 6-0. Only 1 hit in the ball game so far for the Oakland A's. Joel Pinheiro has been very tough. As we are in the 6th inning of play, bottom of the 6th, and the Mariners sitting on a 6-0 lead. And the batter is Hatteberg. Hatteberg is flied out to left and he's walked. Miguel Tejada's on deck. He's hitless tonight. And Euribiel Durazo is waiting. So there's some pop at the plate and some more coming for Pinheiro.
It was interesting opening game here of this series. Jamie Moyer pitched, and he had a no-hitter for 6 1/3 innings. And here we are tonight. Pinheiro's only given up 1 hit in 6 innings. Well, in 5 1/3, 5 innings, I guess.
There's Jimmy. You know who his father? I don't know, most of you probably know, but his father-in-law is Digger Phelps. Digger was my analyst at the 1984 Olympic basketball. Hard shot first base handled by Colburn. 1 down.
You called 2 of the greatest individual performances, maybe the 2 single greatest in history of the Olympics. In 1972, Mark Spitz.
Yep.
And in 1980, Eric Heiden at Lake Placid, New York. Just phenomenal.
Eric won 5 individuals and Mark won 4 individuals in swimming in Munich and then 3 relays. And it was incredible. Both performances were just incredible.
Well, you know, I note there you said that Digger Phelps was your analyst, you know, in the Olympics. Well, guess what? Now you have to put me on your resume.
That's all right. I'm happy to.
Hey, now you have to put me and Dave O'Brien. We're on your resume.
We're on there. We're on there somewhere.
Yeah, we're on there. We may
way down.
We may not be at the top, but we're on there someplace.
It's still in quiet. Miguel Tejada is at the plate. As we said, hitless. I'm looking forward to when you have Ernie Harwell. I love him. He's great point. Little looper. That's what we call a humper. Little humpback liner to the outfield, and it drops in. So he finally gets his first hit of the night.
Well, if Ernie Harwell's a poet, you're a philosopher. How's that?
I'm just an old country boy passing through.
I was asked today by a writer here. He said, you know, are you having fun doing this? Is it fun to work with Keith Jackson? I said, no, and it's an honor to work with Keith Jackson. It's not fun. It's an honor.
Yeah, thank you. It's
I'm having fun, Joel.
Well, it's an honor. I'm thinking of it as an honor. I'm thinking of it as an honor.
I'm thinking of it as fun.
I had fun today playing golf.
I tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to check my wallet and leave.
See, you're a philosopher. See.
Pitch is low and away. 1-1. 6-0. Seattle leading Oakland. We're in the 6th inning. You got 1 out. You got a man on first base. And Joel Pinheiro. He is on the mound. Ball is hit well to right. Ichiro is there. Never fear. 2 down. So Durazo pulls 1 to right.
You know, I always thought, Keith, listening to you all those years from the time I was about 7 or 8 years old and wanting to do what you do, you used words so beautifully. And you had a great comment, I thought, yesterday, that any young play-by-play person or aspiring journalist should realize, if you want to speak for a living, you better learn how to write first. which I always thought was very true.
Words. You're going to be a word mechanic. You better know how to twist them.
See, Joe, you're having fun.
Yeah, well, yes.
Hernandez is at the plate. It was Ramon who got the first hit of the night off Joel Pinheiro. And I always go back to that old Ted Husing advice. Never be afraid to turn a phrase, and if they don't know what you're talking about, let them look it up. But you know what has
I thought that was Casey Stengel said, if you don't believe it, you can look it up.
That's right. Groucho Marx said, those are my principles. If you don't like those, I got some more. Yogi was marvelous, yes. Wasn't he? The greatest,
he still is.
The greatest thing Yogi ever said in his whole life: "If you come to a fork in the road, take it." He stole that one. 2 strikes on Hernandez. And it just misses inside.
Hey, speaking of phrases, you're given credit for "Whoa, Nelly."
Not mine.
And it's not yours.
Mine.
You never said that.
Very seldom ever used it. In fact, probably no more than 3 times in my life. And I don't know what reason it was and why. But Dick Lane, who worked in Los Angeles at the original television station down there, KTLA, he used it in roller derby and wrestling. Line shot. Third base on the hop. Over to second and out number 3. So we've gone 6. And the Mariners making it easy so far tonight. 6-0. Here come the Mariners in the top of the 7th inning. You've been stumbling along for half an hour with the past. Now let's return to the future. And here's one of the good young ones, Dave O'Brien.
All right, Keith, thank you so much. Great to hear you back calling play-by-play on baseball. 7th inning, 6-0. Seattle has dominated the night on the pitcher's mound and in the batter's box. Have out-hit Oakland 12-2. And Cirillo came up with one of those hits in the 3rd inning. He pops this one sky high. And Ellis has all night to get underneath it. So 1 away here in the 7th inning. Baseball, of course, not the only sport that Mr. Jackson excels at.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. You can't be toe dancing around back there. They'll give you a tutu.
And here goes Anthony Davis for 102 yards and a touchdown.
I suppose if your roots are southern, you can call it 3 whoopies and a hot damn. I do not use that phrase. The price of victory is high, but so are the rewards. Lets it go. He's got 3 people down there. The ball's up in the air. Caught. Touchdown. Caught by Westbrook for a touchdown.
Well, some marvelous stuff there from the gridiron, of course. And at dinner last night, I made the mistake of asking Keith, well, have you done this sport? Have you ever done this before? And what I should have said was, what haven't you done?
Hockey.
Well, we did find out.
Yeah, it was hockey. Wilson slaps that one in the air to right. Dive backs up for the catch. 2 away. Did you ever want to do hockey?
Nope. I grew up in the South as a boy, and there wasn't it. And so I knew nothing about it.
Right fielder, Ichiro.
I don't normally go around sticking my nose in places where I haven't been.
That's a good point.
There are always people around who can do a particular thing better than I can. And, if you find your niche and it fits, live in it.
Well, if ever a man had a niche, it's Ichiro in the batter's box. And tonight, he has 2 singles. He's also been hit by a pitch.
I think he's a marvelous baseball player. I must say that.
He's great fun.
I think Soriano, the second baseman for the Yankees, is a guy that brings energy. I mean, you just feel it when he's up.
Well, you can just see that these guys are special. I mean, just the way they walk at their positions. I mean, they're special players.
And similar style players in that they both have terrific speed. Obviously, a lot more power with Soriano. Sharply up the middle, but called in by Halama. And he has a quick 1-2-3 inning. Ichiro 2 hits tonight and 12 for Seattle. It's been enough. They lead 6-2. Wednesday night baseball and nightfall here in Oakland, California. Jermaine Dye takes a strike from Joel Pinheiro, who's been terrific tonight. Really outstanding. He's tossing a 2-hit shutout. The first inning, it started out rather rough for him. He walked the first man he faced tonight, and Eric Burns. He also walked the third batter in there against him. But he did not give up a hit until the fourth and a double by Ramon Hernandez, and just one hit after that. And he's up 6-0. And against an Oakland team that is tremendous in this ballpark. They have the best record in baseball here at home at Network Associates Coliseum. Since 1999, the A's are 105 games over 500 at home. So they win a lot here. That's strike three. Let's go back now to 1958 with Keith Jackson.
Putting everything they've got into it. And the red-clad horsemen from Leningrad are hot after the Washington Huskies, but Washington has won this race.
On July 19, 1958, the University of Washington crew became the first American athletes to compete inside the Soviet Union under auspices of the Cultural Exchange Program, which is still in effect between the two nations. This is Keith Jackson, KOMO TV News.
I was never that young. Well, that was a fun thing, though.
Singleton pops it up, and Cirillo in foul territory right there. How many times did you go to Russia?
31. But that was the first live broadcast ever made from the Soviet Union to the United States. And Irving R. Levine played a great role in that. The NBC News living in the National Hotel in Moscow. There were very few Americans there. That was the week they stoned our embassy, threw ink bottles at it. The militia rode down the street and pounded people with rubber hoses. And Marines are in Lebanon. The Brits are sinking ships in the Suez. It was a messy time.
You started out as
stimulating.
You started out as a newsman, did you not?
Yep.
Menachino takes a strike.
Did that ball game. I told the story a million times. But Jackie Robinson and I did the game in St. Louis in 1965. And that night I was crawling around and working at Watts Riots.
Amazing.
Not very stimulating. Demoralizing.
But you went from working a ball game to the Watts Riots that same night.
Yes.
Wow.
Marvelous jet airplane day. You realize how the jet airplane has impacted the world? It's just incredible when you think about it. And what it did for sports.
Well, you call games in different locations the same day, and that's because of it.
I remember doing a Yankee ALCS game. The Yankees, I don't know who it was at the moment, but probably Kansas City. But I did a game in New York, up the middle.
Bloomquist gets to. He's gotten everything tonight.
Look at Willie.
We'll finish up that story in just a second. Many more to come with our living legend, Keith Jackson, here tonight in Oakland, California. Top of the 8th inning here in Oakland, 6-0 Seattle, and the Mariners on their way to a victory tonight behind Joel Pinheiro. Randy Wynn scored an early run in the first inning after taking ball 4. It's been an up and down night for him. 2 strikeouts and 2 free passes for Wynn. Boone and Martinez to follow. That one knocked down into the left field corner. May stay fair, and it does. It drops just inside the chalk. Wynn crawls on into second base with a double, his first hit of the night. And as we went to break, you were talking, Keith, about the American League Championship Series and the Yankees.
Did a ball game Friday night at Yankee Stadium and ran out to LaGuardia, jumped on a Lear, and flew to Dallas. And did an Oklahoma-Texas game Saturday morning. Ran out down through the Cucklebergs and jumped in a helicopter and went off to Love Field and flew back to New York. And the producer had said to the production assistant, get the bodies to the stadium by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's a pitch outside. But we arrived at LaGuardia reasonably close to time. And he had said to the young lady, get the bodies there. Well, she did. We stepped off the Lear, Jerry Klein and I, and stepped into an ambulance. And it was an off-duty ambulance that she had hired. And he pulled away on the tarmac, went into the street. When he hit the street, he flipped on his lights. He didn't turn on the siren. But when he turned on the lights, he broke every law, apparently, in New York City. And so we arrived at Yankee Stadium, go upstairs, have time to have a cup of coffee and half a sandwich, and went on the air. And in about the 5th inning, Howard Cosell starts talking about the day that Keith Jackson has had. And he tells the story about the ambulance. Mayor Koch is home, and he's watching the game, and he hears about it. And he pursued us for a good 5, 6, 7 years, trying to figure out a way to put us in jail. But, we never got there.
They got the bodies there, though. Huh?
I thought that was a very resourceful young lady that arranged.
I'd say so.
It was one of those continuing things that seemed to last year after year after year.
Ellis throws on to get Boone, who is now 2 for 5 tonight. And Randy Wynn scoots over to third base. Bullpen getting active for Oakland. And Halama's been out there a long, long time, since the 5th inning.
You know, 1965, we were doing baseball games, and everybody comes in, they do something a little differently than those who have done it previously. And so we were being ambitious, and we admit that. But the commissioner, Ford Frick, threatened to sue if we didn't quit taking pictures of the dugout.
He threatened to sue because you were shooting the dugout?
We were taking pictures of the dugout. And he, in those years, considered that to be the office. It was a private place for the player.
Yes. I can understand that. I felt that way myself when I first got into broadcasting. I said the dugout should be off limits. But we've gone past that, of course. And my opinion doesn't hold any water, so we do shoot the dugouts now.
Mine either. But Cosell gets Danny Osinski, who was a pretty good spitballer, to demonstrate it. Danny had excelled using that pitch out here in the Coast League. Look out.
Edgar Martinez gets a hold of one, and that one is way down into the corner.
Whoa. That's upper deck.
16 for Edgar Martinez. That's a 2-run shot against Halama to make it 8-0. No doubt.
I mean, that was way up yonder.
Edgar can still swing the bat 15 years after breaking in.
I mean, he really attacks this ball. He goes out and gets it. Watch where his front shoulder is perfect. And then he just uncoils. And that's pretty much his home run swing right there.
6 rows in the second deck.
Well, you could see he extended and swung a little harder on that one than he did the ball he hit in the left center field the last time up.
Moving closer to 300. This is a guy who not long ago was talking a lot about quitting, about walking away from the game because of the state of those knees and legs.
If he gets his 300 and the team does well this year, I think it's still a possibility that he might say, if I'm going to walk, let's walk in style.
Sure.
And he certainly can live as long as he wants and be revered in the city of Seattle and the county of King.
Absolutely beloved.
Well, when I talked to him about that retirement, he said that he's going to live, you know, mostly in Seattle, but of course he's going to visit his home, Puerto Rico, but he's going to stay there.
Mike Cameron spanks a single right through the 5-hole, his second hit tonight. So he's 2 for 5. That's 14 now for the Mariners, and this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. And look for this burst on specially marked boxes of 2003 Major League Baseball trading cards, and watch the All-Star Game July 15th for your chance to go to the World Series.
To finish that story about Danny Osinski, he demonstrated the spitball for Howard. I mean, with the slow motion and everything, explanation, well done. And boy, that really got the commissioner upset. We don't have a spitball in baseball. Elmer Singleton, I thought, was the best one in the Coast League.
Fly dead center. Burns racing back, racing hard, and can't get it. That jumps up and over the fence. That's going to cost them a run. So 2 bases for Greg Colbert, but he was looking for an RBI. Cameron has to settle for third base.
Well, Eric Burns has not played center field that long. You're here in Oakland. He replaced Singleton when he was going to stay in the lineup every day. Gets a pretty good jump on this ball, and it just bounces over his head.
Well, if he's a step sooner, he's got it.
Yeah.
So that's it for Halama, roughed up in this inning for 2 doubles, a 2-run homer by Edgar Martinez, and a base hit by Mike Cameron. So the right-hander coming on. Now, we've seen Keith, obviously on a lot of baseball, lots of football, but other sports as well. Take a look.
And if you're lucky, you guess right, we've got a problem. That is Rader into the pack. Kent goes out with it. Allison wins the race. Skaya, and she gets her at the pace on the lead. Michelle Glover. Oh my goodness, you gotta have some fight in your soul.
Do you like boxing or do you like
Oh yes, you can tell. I used to do so much.
See, that last 20 feet hurt, didn't it?
Yes, it does.
Does that broken arm you're carrying there bother you a little bit on the control of the chute?
Just a little bit.
Comfortably at poolside.
I remember it well. Hello, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. I'll admit, I've got one of the tougher assignments of my career today. We have some 60 beauties from 9 nations taking part in the International Bikini Sports Competition. There are 9...
Well, why didn't you take me with you?
I took my wife with me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You may have to explain that.
That's why we've been married 51 years.
That was the forerunner to The Bachelor. You were the original host of The Bachelor.
That was the worst thing I was ever involved.
And we found it.
You know, I have to say this. It was so great to see your lovely wife last night. She is still as lively and as adorable as ever. You know, I hadn't seen her in 20 years maybe or whatever. It's been a long time.
Hawaii with the super teams, I think.
Yeah, a long time. I've seen her, but she actually brightened up the dinner table last night. It was very nice to have her there.
Historian. Yes, indeed.
Mike New coming out of the pen for the 19th time. He's pitched very well. A .255 earned run average. 16 strikeouts. A little high with the free passes. And now he gets a guy swinging a hot bat tonight. And Willie Bloomquist, a base hit that he turned into a double back in the 5th. Also drew a walk in the 1st. He's played a very good ball game defensively as well at shortstop tonight for Bob Melvin. Hitting 200, so he needs the hits. 2nd and 3rd here. And 16 hits on the board here for Seattle. 8-0 lead. That one up the middle, but Tejada on the friendly hop. Right on the money as the run comes in to score. So give the RBI to Bloomquist. That'll be his 4th. That makes it 9-0.
And speaking of 9-0, I have to say congratulations to my good friends Cynthia and Kurt Bavacqua. They've had their daughter, their son is 9 days old. Brody. Yeah, so 9 runs, 9 days old. Brody, congratulations to Kurt. You know Dirty Kurt used to play for the San Diego Padres. Yeah, and his lovely wife Cynthia.
It's symmetry.
That's
Cirillo.
What it is. Okay.
Yep. Jeff Cirillo taking a strike.
Ryan Franklin's over there in the dugout saying, "Hey guys, save some, save some, save
you're
some."
Exactly right.
Because he's got to go up against Zito tomorrow night. Barry Zito came in on one of those good arms out of Southern California. They grow them a lot down there with that good weather. And
didn't Randy Johnson go?
Yeah, he went to USC.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there may not be a better curveball in baseball than Barry Zito. That's a hammer.
Unless you throw it to Barry Bonds, which he did last Sunday, and it did not come back.
What did I hear him say that Barry had 2 tonight?
Yeah.
2 home runs. Yep. He has 24.
And Delgado hit 2. He's got 28.
Bobby's having trouble right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Well, deep shot into right, but Dye on the back pedal has it. And the side is retired. Seattle not content. They keep on scoring. 3 more in this inning. They lead it 9-0. Pinheiro back out there for the bottom half of the 8th inning. He's allowed just 2 hits, no runs. 9-0 Seattle. He is up to 111 pitches, so they're going to get somebody warming up in the bullpen. He has 1 complete game this year. We'll see if he gets through this inning quickly. And Melvin may roll him back out for the 9th. Mark Ellis leading off.
And this is exactly what the Mariners needed. They wanted to rest their bullpen. Jeff Nelson, Arthur Rhodes, and Hasegawa have all pitched a lot lately, and they've been knocked around a little bit. So they wanted to give them some rest. They kind of suspecting that their arms were getting a little tired. They wanted to give them some rest without having to use them in this ball game, and so far it looks like they may be able to do that.
And
so this is a big lift.
You're right, and they just called up that hard-throwing right-hander Aaron Taylor from AAA Tacoma. He had 16 saves there. He was a closer. They're not going to use him as a closer, at least right away. But Bob Melvin is using a closer by committee. Line drive and a base hit by Mark Ellis. The second baseman is 1 for 3. Adam Pyatt is going to hit for Burns next. And this week's poll question, who is the comeback player of the year? Kind of begging that question, is it Kevin Brown? Jeff Jenkins coming back from that awful ankle injury. Javi Lopez has been out of his mind this year. Well, of course, you've got the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, and Kevin Brown on the mound Sunday at 8 o'clock, Sunday Night Baseball. But who's your pick?
Mine? Probably Javi Lopez and Kevin Brown. I think you have to separate them. One's a pitcher, I always separate pitchers and hitters, just like I do as far as the MVP voting and things like that. I still think you have to separate them a little bit.
I kind of think that in order to win or even qualify for a Player of the Year, comeback Player of the Year, don't you have to come back from an injury?
Yeah,
don't
pretty
you have to
much
come back from something?
Yeah, but they think of it as just coming back from a bad season.
Right.
And it's also an award you never want to win. I mean, you really do not. I mean, and I'm speaking from experience. I won one once. And, I mean, you never want to have a bad season the year before and have something you have to come back from. But it does happen.
What's the worst injury you ever came back from?
Knee injury early in my career.
I had on the fastball.
I had the what they called it at the time, O'Donoghue's terrible triad, which is meaning all the things that can go wrong with your knee were wrong with mine, and meniscus, ACL, and cartilage, and it was awful.
First baseman.
Well, Doc fixed a few of those, didn't he?
Yes.
Doc Donahue?
Yeah.
Hatterberg on the night, 0 for 2. He's also taken ball 4.
But he actually, it was Dr. Brels who fixed mine, but O'Donoghue actually diagnosed us.
Want a word from an old timer? Take care of them.
Yeah.
You don't want that titanium and cobalt.
Yeah,
Keith, you had both of your knees replaced.
I did.
Well, you know what? Joe Namath had the same thing, and he swears by it. So.
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I thought you were supposed to do one at a time, though, not both at the same time.
Well, I think you're better off doing them both at the same time.
Are you?
Because I don't think you'll go back for the second one.
Yeah, maybe.
My mom had one done. She was supposed to do that. She didn't quite make it back for the second.
That's hard.
Yeah. You do it all at once and get it out of the way, I think.
I know Bobby Cox, the Braves manager, had both of his done, I believe, at the same time, and he's allergic to anesthesia.
Man.
So Bobby had to have his knees operated on and go through that without benefit of anesthesia, and that's a tough cookie right there.
Yes.
Well, they had to have some way of dulling
something.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
Keith, they had to have some way.
I'm telling you, I thought I was a goner after 72 hours.
You had them both done at the same time?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
And it was done by as skilled a person as you could get, and even so, it's a boot. That's why the practice of orthopedic sports medicine has been so valuable to the whole society. It's just mind-boggling what they can do now, what they do. And the guys come back to it. Now look at Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to Bo? Good grief. You're lucky if you can walk. What he did.
Belleuse pinch hitting into a force play, and that retires the side. One hit and no runs in the inning, and that guy right there, Joel Pinheiro, may be on his way to a complete game tonight. July 4th, red, white, and blue with baseball. 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. It's the Mets at Cincinnati. At 4 o'clock at ESPN2, how about the Red Sox and the Yankees? Roger Clemens to pitch. 9 o'clock Eastern, ESPN2. Arizona, red hot these days, taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And back here in Oakland, Seattle with a commanding 9-0 lead. Joe Morgan, Keith Jackson, Dave O'Brien with you. It's Dan Wilson, who's had an excellent night. 3 hits, all singles, including an RBI in the 5th inning. A bunch of changes for Oakland, just in case you're scoring at home. Adam Pyatt stays in the ball game. He is in left. Singleton moves over to center. Menachino is now the shortstop. And Melhuse makes his major league debut at third base. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Joel Pinheiro who has one complete game. He has thrown 123 pitches. Joe, do you send him back out there to try for number 2?
Well, it looks like he's going to go back out there. He's still sitting there.
How about a 4-hit night for Dan Wilson? 4 for 5, and he leads off the 9th inning. The 17th hit, but you know, they shook his hand down in the dugout. It looked like they were about to lift him.
Well, you think so, but if he's still sitting on the bench, it tells me that he's going back out there. He's still sitting there, and no one's throwing in the bullpen.
Yeah,
I think he must have asked him or talked him into leaving him in the ball game. And I'm sure that they're hoping that if he goes back out there, he's going to have an easy inning. You know, maybe just throw a few strikes and try to get some guys out.
Ichiro hits it hard. Ellis, Domenichino. That's what he was trying to do, but on to first base instead. And so Wilson scurries on down to second base, and Ichiro, after starting tonight with singles in the first and the second, has gone 0 for 3 since then. And hit that ball sharply, but since getting hit by the pitch, he's been a quick out each time. Got hit on the back of his right leg with a pitch back in the 5th inning. So 1 down for Randy Wynn. His first 2 times up, he struck out. He also doubled and scored a run back in the 8th inning. And Mateo, and this is the 2nd time he's been loosening, gets ready again.
So I mean, I think I'm sure they're going to send him back out there, and if he gets in any trouble, they'll take him out.
Singleton won't catch up to this one. A gap shot. It's up against the fence. Here comes Wilson lumbering around third. The throw got away on the middle infield, and it's 10-0 Seattle. The hits just keep on coming now. 18 hits and another extra base hit for Randy Wynn.
High fastball up and away, and he just drives it into left center field. Singleton not able to chase it down. And this is Dan Wilson. It looks like he has a little limp there, but he's able to score on the double.
Catchers always have a little limp, don't they? Red Boone in there. He's 2 for 5 with a couple of RBIs, a double and a single. I did notice that Wilson took a little pause there to expectorate, you know, on his way to third base. So I think he's been listening in on the telecast tonight. Everyone gets into it. Boone takes a pitch low. He is Seattle's top RBI man. Although coming into tonight, the A's have done a very good job on Boone. That held him to no homers and just a couple of RBIs in the first 9 meetings of the year. But not tonight. That's right through there.
ESPN has the Women's Open, right?
Correct.
This Thursday?
Starts tomorrow.
Youngest player in the field is a 13-year-old from around this area. One of Laird Small's pupils, a little young lady named Burleson.
13.
She's younger than we.
Yeah, there's a couple of 13-year-olds in there.
There's something like, 15 teenagers.
Yeah.
Swatted at, fouled away deep down the right field line. Is she any good?
Yeah.
If you're on the PGA Tour, playing in the U.S. Open, you're good.
She had to qualify.
Yeah. There's another young lady from around here named Kim. She's won like $134,000 in her rookie year. So a lot of teenagers on the tour.
Low for ball 4. The carousel continuing here for Seattle. Yet another base runner.
At least the traffic will be light, guys.
Well, look at the standings down in the American League West, and at the moment, Seattle's lead is 6, and about to go to 7 full games again over the A's, who have been a second-half team, of course, over the last couple of years. They're not going to see much of each other between now and about the 3rd week of September. Is Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, but you know, a performance like this and the timing of it, that's the key, I think, here. The timing of it. It would disturb me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% because the A's are at home.
Comebacker off the glove. It glances towards short. Menachino bare hands, throws it away. There comes one run and Wynn to score. A wild toss by Menachino, who just moved from third to short. And it's 11-0. Now Martinez should be given credit for a base hit, which would be his third of the night. They haven't awarded it yet. Yeah, it will be a single and an error. And no RBI.
Well, it's a sharp ground ball. It could have been a double play if he was able to grasp it. He wasn't. Tough play for Menachino, and he throws it away.
So Boone and Martinez now into scoring position for Mike Cameron. And he has 2 hits. So Ichiro has 2, Wynn has 2, Boone has 2, Martinez 3, Cameron with 2 hits, Colbrin has 2 hits, and Dan Wilson has 4 hits. So everyone hits tonight for the Mariners. 11 runs on 19 hits. And only 1 home run, but it was torched by Edgar. Cut on and missed by Cameron. Mike Cameron has struck out once tonight. He whiffed 3 times last night, so he now has 73. That puts him at the top of the American League. Pinheiro is to hang out with the hit machine that is Dan Wilson tonight. Second and third, 1 out. The Mariners got 2 quickly, and Ichiro set the pace tonight, as he so often does, with a base hit.
Very first inning. Very first inning.
He came around to score. 8 men came to bat against Ted Lilly in that opening frame. That one scalded toward the alley, deep into right center field between Singleton and Dye. It drops down and up against the fence. 2 runs in, and 3 hits for Cameron. You're talking about how important this game was, Keith, before we started. Now a statement seems to be being made here by the Seattle Mariners.
I agree with you.
They are pounding the baseball, and now it verges on embarrassment.
Do they have a mercy rule?
Fastball, it's up again, and good hitting by Cameron. He drives it in the gap. 2 more runs come home. But I think you're right. I mean, and that's one of the big differences between these 2 teams. The Mariners are able to hit and score a lot of runs. The A's need a little help from the opposition. They depend on a few bases on balls, and then the home runs or the doubles or whatever. But the Mariners make their own offense. I mean, they're just a good offensive ball club.
Cycling coming up next right here on ESPN. It is 13-0 Seattle. And the win is going to go to Joel Pinheiro, barring an extraordinary comeback. He'll be 9-5, and he'll have won his 5th in a row. So maybe he's going to turn into that stud that they really need. I mean, obviously Moyer's having a terrific run. Garcia's a marvelous pitcher, the best stuff on the staff, but Pinheiro is maybe in the best groove of anybody other than Jamie Moyer right now.
Well, you're mentioning 3 pretty good pitchers, so that tells you that they do have, the ability to win a short series or 7-game series, 5-game series, whatever they're involved in. So I think this is a very, very good ball club, and I think they learned a lot in 2000 when they didn't get to the playoff, to the World Series after winning 116 games. I still think it's very difficult to win 116 games or 115, whatever, as the Yankees won, because that year, if they didn't win the World Series, it would seem like it was a loss. But the Yankees, of course, were able to win the World Series during that great year.
Coburn pops it up into right center. That'll just be the 2nd out of the inning as Cameron tags up and advances into third base. But when you talk to guys like Boone and Olerud, even Ichiro, about the sting of winning 116 games a couple of years ago and not doing it,
right?
That still hurts.
Yeah,
that still burns them big time.
Yeah, it has to. But by the same token, I mean, it burns, but you still have to prove you can do it. I mean, it's like Oakland is continually had a good team, but they haven't been able to get out of the first round of the playoffs. True, they played the Yankees a couple of times when the Yankees won the World Championship, but they still have not been able to get out of the first round of the playoffs. And Seattle has not been able to get to the World Series. So until you do it, I mean, there's still some doubt in the back of your mind because you've had those bad things happen to you so often. See, the Yankees, on the other hand, they've always won, so they expect to win, and it's a little easier to do it. It's a little easier to go out there and win a championship the second time. That first one is very difficult to do.
Knowing how.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of goes with that old homily about knowledge and wisdom is not necessarily related.
You're writing that one down, Dave?
Writing them all down. I've got a staff working down in the truck, writing them all down. They're wonderful. It's been such a treat having Keith Jackson in our booth tonight on Wednesday night. And I don't think Wednesday nights have ever sounded this good.
You're very flattering.
Well, it was marvelous to hear you call those innings in the middle portion of the game. Back when this was a game, by the way.
Yeah. You leave the dirty work for Dave. Clean up.
He's got a long run in front of him.
Bloomquist tonight with a base hit and also an RBI and a ground out.
You don't have a career without longevity. I don't care what you're doing. You've got to have the longevity.
I just want to make sure that you mark this down on your resume. July 2nd, 2003. Joe Morgan was the analyst with me on Wednesday Night Baseball, and Dave O'Brien was also here. I want to make sure we get on this resume, Dave.
Have you ever taken the time, Keith, to sit down and add up the number of male and female analysts that you've worked with on all sports since you broke into the business?
No, but I'll tell you, in 1976, when I did all the track and field at the Montreal Olympics, I had 10 commentators. I had so many expert analysts, they had to grab bags.
Just at the Olympics?
Yeah. My goodness. Well, track and field, you know, everybody's a specialist, and so you get into your high jumps, you got somebody, and your pole vault, and your shot put, and the hammer, and then all the running events, and there were so many I didn't trust myself. Boys and girls, you all put on a band.
That's a lot of folks.
Well, it was, but a lot of work too, and most people don't understand how much work there is that goes into an Olympics. I mean, it is an enormous amount of work.
Now, and you're doing that many events and working with so many different people. Obviously, you can't be a master of all of those events. Some of them you may never have even broadcast before. But how far out before the Olympic Games began did you start preparing?
2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Because you want to know who's coming. What particular event will have the new people, and you know what's going on. The federations will always surprise you too with rules and all this drug business that goes on.
Right.
Well, Cirillo gets another at bat here with runners at first and third, and he takes a strike.
And who's going to boycott?
Well, let's hope those days are over. Yeah.
Probably never will be anymore. You know, the Olympics lost its simplicity and lost the truth of it. As de Coubertin planned it, that it would be a festival of youth and was an event to take place for the youth. But that all changed when the first national colors were brought into the arena. It was over. That was it. From then on, it evolved slowly and surely into a political thing. And still is.
Punch to Ellis at second base. And the side is retired. Seattle keeps on scoring, though. They had 3 in the 8th, 4 more in the 9th. It's 13-0 in the middle of inning number 9. Sergeant tonight, the great Keith Jackson. As we wrap this one up, Julio Mateo, the 23-year-old from the Dominican Republic, right-hander, comes on to pitch on in relief of Joel Pinheiro, who was outstanding tonight. There was 2 different games. We were watching Pinheiro dominate a good Oakland A lineup as he went 8, did not allow a run, 3 hits, and 20 hits tonight for Seattle. And a huge 13-0 lead. What was always your favorite description for a big-time blowout, a game like this?
Help.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Durazo is 0 for 3.
I always figured television was a visual medium. That when it's you get into a blowout, that's the producer director. That's when they evolve. It becomes their game.
I like that. Throw the heat on the guys in the truck. Yeah, it's your turn now, man. So, guys, take it away down there. Durazo could very quickly put 1 run up there and bust up the shutout bid. He has tremendous power.
I said last night at dinner, and I would say it again, and I would say it to those of you who are still listening, is Jay Cutlow, who's our producer tonight, I've known for a long time. I knew him as a young fellow. He was barely shaving. But to have watched the youth leave and maturity set in, and people become good, solid working professionals, it's wonderful. And they're everywhere now, thank goodness. And from that ABC Sports womb, if you will, have come so many who play such a leading role in the business right now. A lot of them. Hundreds of them.
Cirillo with the catch, 1 away in the bottom of the 9th.
And men and women as well, I mean to tell you. It's an astonishing number that have been so bright, so creative.
Well, you had a lot in school, and a lot of them, I know that.
No, not really.
Yeah, well, if you
give them the opportunity and see what they do with it. That's what's important, is to provide the opportunity.
Ramon Hernandez 1 for 3 with a 4th-inning double, but that's just one of 3 hits gathered tonight by this lineup of the Oakland A's.
Well, I just heard you talking about Cutlow. You had to give him a lot of help.
Oh, yeah, he had a long rope.
Yeah.
He says, drilled, and Hernandez not too happy with this. Remember, he was the first man to get a hit tonight, but looks like we've had a warning from home plate umpire Dana DeMuth. Yeah, he's warning both dugouts. And so Hernandez will take his base here in the bottom of the 9th.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why that would be deemed as intentional. I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, what is the purpose?
Right fielder,
you're winning 13-0. I don't know why you would hit someone in a 13-0 ball game.
Was that for Ichiro?
Ichiro what? I mean, he got hit with a pitch.
Hit by a pitch.
Well, but I mean, if you get hit with a pitch, I mean, I don't. Is that saying that the one in to Ichiro was intentional? I didn't think so.
Well, I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Just tossing out a reason why.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that goes back a game or
maybe
2 or 3 or a week.
It has to go back a long way, because tonight I don't see. I mean, obviously I don't think they threw at Ichiro intentionally.
It didn't appear to.
No. But if you're going to get someone, 13-0 is a good time.
Dye pops it up. Here comes Colburn racing hard. He'll pull up with room. Number 2.
But the one thing that the umpires are instructed, if there is a history between 2 teams, they usually are prepared to make a quick judgment. And I guess they're aware of something that's happened in the past, and they're trying to stem the tide before it starts.
Is it still so, Joe, that if you're struck by a fastball, that's one thing. But if you're struck by a breaking ball, that's something else.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter anymore.
I've seen guys get kicked out of the game last week, in fact, for hitting a guy with a curveball.
Nub foul by Singleton. The umpires have also been instructed to use discretion as far as warning those benches. And to exercise that, and in a game where it's 13-0, you can let certain things go.
Yeah.
I would expect this is one of those games where that was unnecessary.
Yeah, I just think that they've been cautioned that there is some bad blood, and I don't know when. I've watched a lot of the A's games. I live in the area, and I'm just not aware of anything, and I definitely don't think they were throwing at Ichiro.
Well, you know, if it wasn't before, there might be now.
Yeah.
Blood and,
yeah.
And that,
we'll see what happens tomorrow, right?
That's right. And it could be boiling all summer long between these two clubs, because Oakland's going to be chasing Seattle from now until the end of September. And it should be a heck of a race.
I'm going to get plunked, though. I'll take the deuce.
Take the old curveball at about 82 miles an hour. Stroked into right center field. Ichiro closes on it. So the man who got the first hit tonight makes the final out with a catch. And the final score, all Seattle. They walk away with this one 13-0 over the Oakland A's. Pinheiro with a 9-5 record. Keith Jackson, tonight was a special night for all of us at ESPN. It was wonderful hearing the sound of one of the truly golden voices of our time in sports broadcasting. It's been a pleasure sitting next to you.
I wish I'd have had something to say.
My pleasure. Just a great time.
I have to tell you this. It reminds me of the first time I was on the field with Willie Mays, and I mean that. To be in the booth with you gives me that same thrill of being on the field with Willie Mays for the first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we remind you.
I would say to all the young ones aspiring to follow in the steps of Joe and make the move from the playing field to the booth, do what he did.
All you have to do is bring your A's ticket stub.
Go down where you can work and learn how to do it. And then when you're ready to go play with the big boys, you know how.
I did learn a lot playing doing college games on the road and before I got a chance to, do major league games. So I'm glad I had that foundation, as you called it yesterday.
The minor leagues exist for a reason, and that's where you learn.
Good point.
Well, this is the big leagues. Yeah. You get to hear more of Keith Jackson as we leave here tonight.
The 0-1 pitch. He did it! He did it!
Shot to right, base hit, in the gap, cut off by Ichiro, going for second, throw comes, it is wide, and it's a two-bagger that breaks up your no-hitter.
So your final score tonight from Oakland, Seattle 13, and the Athletics nothing, 20 hits. Ichiro had a couple of those tonight. Coming up next, cycling, the CFB Stunt Series, and on ESPN, it's SportsCenter. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. For the great Keith Jackson and for Joe Morgan and our entire ESPN crew, thanks so much for joining us. Good night, everybody.